way is kind of hypocritical because they're still making the choices in their life that actually makes them sovereign beings.
Yes.
You know, be it whatever it is that you believe in. And so, but in that, I also feel that we've been taught that there's always something over us or somebody that knew something more than we did. And so we'll take that information and make it a culture and a tradition. And I feel like because we haven't had the mindset of being sovereign in ourselves, truthfully, it's caused a lot of damage and misunderstanding and a
Yes.
lot of gaps, you know, and even as it pertains to things that are written, be it sacred text or history, I kind of feel like some of that's been altered. I don't want to be cynical and like pick it apart and say this may not be true, but it still may not necessarily be the truth of the matter, you know?
It couldn't possibly be the full truth, and we know that.
Right.
Because you can't even capture the truth in words. You can't capture the full truth, right?
I had to make some love on that one.
Right.
I like what you said. The truth you can't even put in words.
Right. So, yeah, so we have to know that it's, you know, I'll just say this last thing about this, and then we can move on to the next slide. But the way I teach the Bible is based on this Buddhist concept that says the finger pointing to the moon is not the moon. What do we mean by that?
I got it.
When you're pointing at something, the object isn't to look at the finger, but to look at where you're pointing to. And so what scripture does, and so scripture points you to the truth. But where's the truth? It's inside of you. It's inside of you.
Yes.
Yes.
And so I'm looking at that hand up there. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I got that.
Yeah. The finger pointing to the moon is not the moon.
It's not the moon.
Yeah.
I had to think about that for a minute. And I said, oh yeah, don't notice the finger, notice the finger pointing to it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. And it's always pointing to us, our inner spirit that knows everything. And you know, and I know you teach this too, Ray, and you share this idea yourself that we look at, because you said, remember when you said, I started looking within and getting knowledge? Remember when you said that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of stuff inside, man.
Right, right.
It's a mansion in there.
Yes.
I guess say several mansions.
Right. And so you follow that spirit within you and you never go wrong. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. Yeah, so my the way I always say, I did based on these two concepts and ideas. The base of life is freedom. And the purpose of life is joyful self-expression. We have freedom. We are free. We are free, but we have to claim our freedom. And what are we free to do? We're free to express our inner gifts. Our unique gifts that no one can share, no one has but us. And so we're here to do that.
Yes.
And so many people feel like, well, who am I to want this? Or, do I have the right to have this? But everyone has a right to express their inner gift as long as they're not hurting anyone else or stepping on anyone else's toes. Well, then, that's what we're here for. We're here for joyful self-expression. We're supposed to express our gifts. We were put here for that. And we're here to be free, not to be in bondage to anything or anybody.
Right.
That's right.
And so part of sovereignty then is to claim your freedom.
I'm claiming it right now.
Your freedom to choose. And choice is so important. We have to become decisive in this world. Decisive. Yeah. That means that something comes up and you're faced with an issue and you reflect on it, you look within for your inner guidance, you explore your best judgment. You say, what's my best judgment? What does my gut tell me I should do? And then you make a decision. And you go and you move forward. Feel the fear, but do it anyway.
Right. The fear that
usually turns out good.
Yes. I got that.
Yeah, it's the freedom to choose. So I want to encourage us to be decisive in life. Don't be afraid to make a choice.
Wow. I felt that.
Yeah, I get that. That's really resonate. Anybody like to comment on that? Anybody? Somebody? Do y'all feel that?
Well, I got 1,000 things to say. I just want to say that, just by hearing you say you have to make a decision. And, even as I look at these images, it's like to be that free, like the person with the birds coming out of their chest. That's where I want to get. I don't want to just be roaming in the freedom of being free, but consciously pointing to the moon and going there to do what it is that I feel that I'm supposed to experience. So when I heard your voice, it was under the sound of your voice. It made me realize that although I know I'm quote unquote free, is in my mind, but I'm not really practicing my freedom because a lot of decisions have not been made.
Yes, and to not make a decision is to make a decision. You
Right.
can't get away from making a decision. You can't just say you can't get away from having influence in the world. Right. And we get to talking about being living signs, and you can't really get away from your influence. So all you can bet, the best thing you could do is be a positive influence. So with your choices, the best thing you can do is make wise choices and choices that are in integrity.
Wow, that's that is so true.
Okay, I believe he was asking, is there any more questions? Some people who have never asked the question.
Yeah, just please weigh in, and this is a discussion.
Everybody, anybody.
Well, I do got one more thing to say. I know you're probably tired of hearing from me,
no,
but
you good.
I was going to say no, but what I just thought of a word that just came into my mind, and it was about complacent sovereignty. And because I feel that we all know that we have certain levels of freedoms. We go and come as we please. We get in this, we get in that, we do this, we do that. But there's also, I feel like the level of sovereignty that you're speaking of is far beyond the daily ritual of getting by and getting through life, but really living in a free state, mentally, physically, financially, and every level, and not just in my head.
Right. Free and empowered. You're empowered. You're acting from power, not pain.
Yes, I hear you.
Acting from power, not pain.
Yes,
yes. Wow. Yeah, everything you're saying is reflecting of some of my experiences I had today. It's not that I see this. I see what you're talking. I really do see what you're talking about. It's coming right on time. Really.
Yeah, it's just it's about claiming it. It's about, and so when you were talking about conscious, Delisha, we create our lives, but the question is, do we create it consciously or do we create by default?
Right.
And we want to be consciously creating. We want to be intentional in the things we do, so that we're consciously creating the life we want to live, not unconsciously creating a life, that's really not in alignment with the potential that we have inside of us.
Right.
Yes.
Yes. That is so true. And I feel like I just got woke up another notch because I thought, I'm so serious. I'm like, you're not exercising your freedom at the maximum, and you just brought along an awareness. And I'm really grateful for it.
Well, you could have fooled me, Delisha. I thought you was exercising your freedom pretty good.
I am, but I realize there's more to it.
There's more to it. It's not just that.
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of my things have been watery and then dry, but I'm budding, but I'm not necessarily blossoming flowers yet. And I think based on what you said, it needs to go to the next level to really, I want to say, experience. When I look at this picture with the birds flying out free, that person is free.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Freedom.
Yeah, I think we're all evolving and growing. And so, we're all on that journey.
Yeah, indeed we are. Because I feel that, even though we may not be aware of it, there's a cycle that's going on and that we're keeping up with. Some of us is around the curve, understanding we're in a cycle and preparing the way for themselves before they get around the curve. And some just let that curve hit them. And when it hit them, it hits them. They're like, "Oh wow, I didn't know this." But when you can just be aware, because once you're aware and conscious of a thing, it takes a lot of the spookiness and the mystery away, because you know the mechanisms of it. Sovereignty.
Yes,
Yes.
it's about awareness. You said the key
About
word,
awareness.
just being aware.
About awareness.
Yeah. So one last thing, and then we'll move on to the next slide. Does anybody else have any comments? Anybody else want to comment on this particular slide or this particular idea?
Unmute yourself.
Okay, well, I want to make this one point, and then we can move on to the next slide. Understand that mistakes are part of growth. That you are not going to grow if you don't make mistakes. So don't think you can live a mistake-free life. Just understand that, make your best decisions based on integrity and your inner guidance, and then live with the results as you go forward.
It's just that simple. That's a plaque or a T-shirt. Just gotta think about that.
Yeah.
Next slide.
I'm getting better.
Okay, next slide, please.
I like the images.
Yeah, that's your wife. So one of the bases of sovereignty is to understand that we are divine beings. That we're the spiritual beings having a human experience.
Yes.
And so when you understand that, then you begin to walk in the world as though you are a divine being. I call it a being of God over your experience. But God with a small g, because I said, we're here to be gods over our experience. Excuse me, I gotta take the phone out of here.
I got it. I see what you're saying. We're meant to be gods over
our own experience.
Right.
We're gods with a small g. In other words, we're not the fullness of the creator, because we don't have the fullness, because they have a concept in Kemetic teaching about Amen, which is the hidden one, the unseen, right?
Unseen,
yeah. And from our perspective, we can't see everything.
Right.
Right.
But but we have to understand that we partake in that same nature, though, and we operate in that same power, and we must claim that.
Reverend Amadi.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Now, T. Roof, you're the witness to this. We were just talking about. I would say, the unseen God, Atam.
Yeah, that's Amen. Actually, that's Amen or Amun.
Amen or Amun. Right.
Right.
We were just talking about Amun, because how we were talking about it, I was talking about light, what light was. And with our two eyes, we only see like 5% of a spectrum of light. Red, yellow, green, the 7 colors. That's all we see. But it's 95% more that we don't see. And light is nothing but electromagnetic waves.
Yes.
And they're unseen, but they're there. They're there. Just like Amen. Amun. He's the unseen, the unseen deity.
And so our African ancestors, they understood, I was talking to Delisha about this yesterday. They understood that when certain things are going on in the scene, in the physical universe, they do rituals to in the spirit world to make adjustments in the unseen world, so that they can move forward, so they can remove blocks in the scene in the physical world. And so it's more going on than we can see. So we got to understand that. We also understand that we are divine beings. So I want to ask, I say here, having unlimited potential within us and facing infinite possibilities. So I want to ask if someone would weigh in on what do you know mean?
What do you think that means?
Ooh, may I?
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
I know Lotus knows. I know Lotus knows that answer.
Well,
this is the I was directed toward you, Lotus.
Give Lotus some love.
Thank you guys. Much love to you. I would say that the mini God, it's like the huge God is the creator, right? Like this idea that we have of God as the creator, the one that created everything that we would say is earth. Let's say that. I look at the little God, as you mentioned, as the administrator. So we're the ones that are administrating everything that actually has been created, the way I see it. So when we say that we are these energy beings, we're really just the administrators of what is going on, and knowing how to use the 5 elements, water, earth, fire. If we learn how to use perhaps maybe just 2 of those, and learned how to maneuver them within us, then the external world will definitely take a different manifestation. But I look at it like we are the creators, because we are the ones that are putting everything together. We're the ones that are putting the ideas together, the thoughts together, and then we're putting them into a feeling, and then we're putting them into an action, and then the action has an outcome, and that's what we would call the end result of our administration.
Wow.
I like that.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Need some love on that one. Love on that one. I like that.
That's interesting.
I administrator.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, the way I kind of would put it is, I say that God does it for us by doing it through us. That's kind of how I say it, but I like that idea. I'm going to contemplate this whole concept of being an administrator.
Yeah, because I look at it this way. When you're the administrator, all of a sudden you realize one thing, and that is, if I am in complete responsibility over what happens to me, then to some extent we have to look at the fact, if there is such a thing as reincarnation and coming back over and over, then to some extent we have to take responsibility of the fact that we have chosen everything. And that's a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult thing to accept, because most of us say, well, I personally wouldn't administrate my life to go this way. We don't, right? We wouldn't. I wouldn't. I know that in times of where I felt a lot of pain, and I had someone say that to me, it felt like that this is not a time for you to tell me that, because I'm hurting right now.
Right.
But later on, when I heard it again, when I wasn't feeling that much pain, to some extent, it's a relief to know that I have chosen everything, because in believing that I have chosen everything in my life, that makes me the administrator.
Right.
That means that I can change it anytime I want to. And perhaps maybe not in the physical right away, because it does take time for the physical to be manifested, right? Just like an illness, it can take up to maybe 5 years before it comes out through the body, physical body. Right. But in the process of it, we can change it. We can change the energy. We're not going to be able to change what has already been sowed. Whatever you planted, it's going to reap. But if you can allow that to just take its form as it is. But as you're allowing that to take form, you also begin to start changing little things about your own self and your own thoughts. Then that in itself will also come to bloom at some point.
Right.
So if you're
Right.
able to administer, to be able to say to yourself, I want this and I want that, and how am I going to go about it? Sometimes we do the action first, but I think a lot of times the administration is not just an action of external, it's an administrator of yourself.
Yes.
Gotta give you some love, Lord.
Yes. That's so
Hey,
powerful. That is
hey,
so beautiful.
I just like to, I want to follow up with that. It, sovereignty. We are divine beings, having an unlimited potential within us and facing infinite possibilities. Uh,
Yes.
what that feels to me, it just makes me think of this. I can go on and on a lot, but it made me think of this when I really accepted that I am in control and that I said before I was even born, well, my soul said before I was even born, I'm going to come here and this going to do this and this going to do this, and you're going to get through it, and you got to go through these ups and downs. When I started seeing being accepted to that, this was when I was in my crack addiction. I started learning these things. Uh, I I had to take an initiative of myself. And what I did I always said I'm a divine being. And how I activated the divinity within me was through earth, air, fire, water, ether, center, and center was my higher self. Okay.
Mhm.
And I used it simply as mudras, hand mudras.
Mm.
I just want to share this with you. Maybe y'all can try this or whatever. You know, before meditation or a lot of times before my meditation or during my meditation, when I feel again, I want to activate again. I sit up and I put my hands like this. Do y'all see that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
When I put my thumb and this together, in India, these are mudras and they mean a lot of things. So I reprogram minds to mean this for me. When I do this, it is doing this for me. So when I do this, it is connecting me with the element of north, the direction of the north, the element of air. Anytime I'm doing this, so I'm connecting myself with the element of air and the direction of the north. That's this one. Then when I do this one, this is the connection. This is connecting me with the of fire, element of fire, and the direction of the east. And I sit with it for a minute. I breathe with it for a minute, and I acknowledge that. And I acknowledge that, when I go to the next one, I acknowledge all aspects of myself in these parts, in the north part, and the air element, my air element, my breathing, my north part, my higher self. Then I say my fire could be my blood, and the
Mhm.
and the direction, the east is the rising sun, right? Fire. So and then
Mhm.
I go to right here. This is the element, well, the direction of the west. I acknowledge the west part of me. The west part of me could be my physical body. And the west represent earth. So they connect. So earth, the ground, and my physical body is an aspect of earth. Then I go to the next one. This is south. This is the element of water. South is the element of respect the innocent, respect the sacred, the element of water. So this is the water within me. And then I go to the element of center or balance.
Mm.
And that the aspect of me, the
Mm.
eternal me inside me, and my higher self, the divine me. When I do this, I took care of all the directions and all the elements, and my element is the element of center is ether. I use ether. You can do it however you want to do it. Just long as when you make these little certain rituals, things to psychically connect with your subconscious, that this is what this means, that's what it is then. Don't think no more
Yeah,
about it. Just know that's what it is. And so
that's
and
right.
then when I come right here and I get right here, I literally feel empowered. And I go by my meditation and things. That would pop in my head. I know I was on forever, but I just had to share that, and
Thank you. That was great.
yes. So just try it. However you like it. How you ever want to. Vicky got her hand up. She wanna chime in. Go for it, Vic.
Hey, I've noticed from my personal experience, as you stop resisting the transformation and the embodiment of your connection to your higher self and your physical self, you're gonna meet resistance. You're going to meet your opposition. You're going to um, come across things that you probably weren't aware of before. But once you just accept that's where you are in your journey, stuff starts falling off, like old thoughts, old habits, old thought forms, old. I no longer visit certain environments anymore. I don't visit with certain people. I don't, I just just remove. I automatically no longer put myself in positions where I know I'm not supposed to be. I
Mm.
don't have to. I don't have to worry about. Oh, do I have to go over there? Well, spirit ain't even gonna leave me over there because I ain't supposed to be over there.
Right.
So I'm learning to flow with the transformation and the transition as you integrate your higher and lower selves and communicate with your higher self. As you're growing, you ain't gonna have time to socialize like you want.
No.
Sometimes spirit and your higher self just want you to sit still
Mm.
Vicky, I
and
gotta give
be.
you some love with that. Come on, Vicky. I gotta give you that's just mesmerizing. I dig that. Love that. Keep going. That's just our little way of saying, uh,
Wow.
what is it?
Thank
Wow.
you.
or oh.
Aha.
or
I mean,
aha.
Yeah,
I,
that's
I
right.
because everybody is still on the journey
Yes.
on whatever level of consciousness they're on,
Right.
but it's seeing little pieces of yourself as you grow. I look back and I be like, dang, I was a savage bitch. That savage bitch no more. You know what I'm saying?
That's growth, Vicky.
I
That's
used to
I
growth.
be a
can relate.
mean
I'm
bitch.
raising my hand.
You know,
No,
I
no,
used to be a
Shamika,
mean. I used to be a
next.
mean lady.
We,
I'm trying to be softer. It's not easy being soft.
Oh, I'm with you on that. I am so with you on that.
okay,
Yeah.
Shamika had her hand up.
Um, I just had a question. When you were doing these,
Yeah.
does that does those have a number meaning to them?
You can coordinate whatever you want. You are the master of this. The template I just gave you is locking things up with your subconscious. Yes, it could be a number, whatever you want it to be.
Okay.
I
I
don't
was
want to.
asking because those are number signs in ASL, which is American Sign Language.
Right.
Those are number signs. So I just thought maybe it was a correlation between numbers and that.
What number is this then?
That's 9.
Oh, wow. What is that one?
Wait.
The first
Yeah,
one
this
is
is
like
9.
this. This is 9. What
Yeah,
about this?
9.
Okay, this is 9.
8,
8.
9, 8, 7, 6.
What does that mean?
Well,
In
be
sign.
quiet.
What
I'm
does that mean
sorry?
in sign? Is that a meaning in sign?
Yeah, that means prayer or praise.
I praise. Okay.
I like that. That added another dimension
Because
to
the
this.
signs were derived from something,
Yes.
that we do every day, and signs mean something.
Yes.
So if that's why I was asking if that had any kind of number correlation, because signs do mean something.
That you know
If
what,
The
Shamika?
reason why that sign is that,
You know what, Shamika? I think that's one of your purposes to connect them dots on that aspect.
Hmm.
Who knows?
Mm.
That's where we connect the dots. We throw stuff out there. Somebody hear things and say, hey, what about this? Let's see. Let's make it work. I'm like that. I'm a scientist. If somebody come with an idea, I want to make it work. Let me see it make it work.
Well,
If I may say something about the hand mudras.
Yeah.
When it comes to the hand mudras, from a little bit of that I was able to understand and read on it, each finger, when you're placing it, it actually, if you're able to sink into your inner self, with each finger, you'll able to feel what the system, your inner system, and how it's working.
Yeah.
So because each finger is connected to a specific organ. When the thumb and let's say the middle finger are joined together, and you go into a deep state of meditation, you could feel how the body works from the perspective of those two fingers being connected. Simply because those two fingers being connected is like the energy that you have, and when they're connected, it actually
Completes the cycle.
It sparks the energy within the organs that you're touching. So that was my understanding when I read about it. So when doing that, it's not just that you're connecting to your own visualization, but you're also connecting to your internal physical self, like the organs, the heart, the lungs. And as you continue to do that, eventually you'll be able to feel that energy of how your heart is beating, or how your kidneys are working, or how your lungs are working. And that just is over time when you become very sensitive to yourself, which means, like you said, sometimes spirit just wants you to sit down and be quiet.
Activate yourself feeling.
Yeah, so that was just some input that I wanted to put in there when it comes to the hand mudras.
Thank you.
I just have one thing I just want to say, just based on the hand mudras and just and even as like you were saying, Ray, you know, it can be what you want it to be. And then I go back to what Reverend Amadi is saying about, you know, sovereignty. You know, we can create our own lives, a sovereign by design life, you know, based on the principles or the understanding that you have of what comes in your spirit, and really just start creating new systems. And that's what, and to me, that's a very sovereign way. And I think a lot of times we miss things because we're following someone else's template. And, you know, in your higher self and in the deeper parts of your ancestors and all parts of you may know a different way that you don't know, but we sometimes ignore those signs and messages because it didn't come through the text. And so I feel like talking about the sovereignty, you know, sovereign by design, and really start to create new life in sovereignty by your own design or the design of the group or people that you're associating with.
Right, and that's what you guys are doing with Connect the Dots.
So I give you some love, Delisha.
Yeah, what you guys are doing with Connect the Dots, what's happening with Connect the Dots is like-minded people who know who they are, who operate in their power, coming together to create a different system.
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing?
Yes, that's it.
Nothing less than that. Nothing less than that will be accepted.
Nothing less.
Okay. So let's move on to the next. Oh, before we move to the next one, I just want to say this quickly. So having unlimited potential just means that you have inside of you everything you need. I think that one thing that has happened to many of us is, you know, we don't really feel inferior, but somehow we feel inadequate. We don't feel like we have enough. We don't feel like, you know, we feel like we're missing something because, you know, we've really been having to swim against the tide of society. And, you know, with the deck stacked against us, but still surviving, still managing, you know, still holding things together, but always on the verge of desperation. So we have to understand that we have everything inside of us, and that we're facing infinite possibilities. That means that whatever we want to create, we can't create, because that's all what Ray is talking about when he says it's all electromagnetic energy. So we know that there's really infinite possibilities in front of us. So therefore we don't look back with regret about anything that happened in our lives. because we're here today with infinite possibilities in front of us to create the world we want to live. So why would we be looking back with any kind of regret? Everything that happened got us to where we are now. So now let us go forward and create the world we want to live. Ashay?
Yes, I say.
And before we go on,
Yeah.
Demi got something that she'd like to add.
Yes,
Go ahead.
please.
Demi?
Are you?
Sorry, guys. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. We could hear you, but not now.
Hear me?
Now we
Yeah.
can, yeah.
Okay, so I just wanted to also add that, you know, in creating the life that we want to live, that it's important just to remember the simplicity of life, because I really feel like we're on this planet and there's so much wealth, natural resources and wealth, that if we lived in a system that really put the Most High first and really, you know, just understood the importance and the power and the blessing that it is to live from the earth, then it would be different, you know, because life is about the giving and the receiving. You put a seed in the earth gives you food. And then when we take another seed and plant it back, anytime we are planting seeds and doing something and something grows to help us heal or to grow or to teach us something, it's a blessing. So I just wanted to add that.
I say,
Ashay, yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Gotta get some
That's
of
part
that
of it. Yeah, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about the infinite possibilities. But we got to also understand, but like you're saying, we got to understand the principles that govern the universe so we can flow with them. We're not working against them. So we're not trying to swim against the current. We're going with the current. You know, that's part of our understanding. So could we go on to the next slide, please?
Yes, sir. Mental slide.
Okay, so this is the concept, mental sovereignty. And and it involves the ability to
Reverend Amadi,
yes.
I apologize. Can I read it for you?
Yes, please.
Can I just read this for you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Why don't you read the quote? Well, read that first and then we'll read the quote. Okay, read the definition, please.
Okay.
Mental sovereignty.
Okay, the bottom one? Okay, yeah.
The bottom. Read that first and then we'll read the quote.
Okay. Mental sovereignty. Mental sovereignty involves the ability to name yourself, define yourself, tell your own story, manage your emotions. Wow.
That's it right there.
Okay, I
That's
like
it
that.
right there. You'll notice that when the colonizers come and they seek to invade other people's territory and take over their land, they always change the name of it.
Yes.
They always change the name because name represents nature, and so they want to change. So it's very important what you call yourself and what you answer to, and so that's why you cannot stand in your power if you don't claim the ability to name yourself. And then you got to define yourself. That means you got to say, well, what does that mean? I set the meaning, not the society doesn't tell me what my name means. I determine it. Then you tell your own story. And then if you want to and if you don't know how to manage your emotions, you won't have self-control. So how can you be self-ruling if you don't have self-control?
Okay.
All right. So can someone read the quote up here? This is, Delisha found this quote. I like it. Maybe Delisha, you read.
Okay. Okay. Mental sovereignty. It says you have the power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. If you are distressed by anything external, it's not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment. And that was by Marcus Aurelius.
Right.
That's the only one I could find.
No, but that was good. No, that's okay, because we got to use everything to advance ourselves.
Right.
You know, I'm African centered because, I've talked to Delisha and Ray about this, because I feel that, African people, we've got to we've got to balance society, and we got to you know, we've been discriminated against for hundreds of years. And so now we have to shift things and bring balance and justice into the world. And so I have this term that, you know, well, that I say Africanize everything. And by that, I mean, whatever it is, if I use it to advance African people, black people, whoever, you know, anybody can use it for this purpose. As long as I'm using it to advance the cause, then it's okay. You know, and so that's what you're doing with that quote. It advances the cause, so we don't care where it came from, right? And anywhere. And also, knowledge belongs to everybody. As long as you give credit to people, you know, knowledge doesn't belong to anyone. You know, it's in the ethers for us all to use.
Right.
Just thought I would say that. Yes. So with that concept, is that kind of, and even when it talks about, I just want to say this last thing. So it says, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And you have the power to revoke it at any moment. And what is your power to revoke it? You redefine what it means to you. Right. You reassess it, and you determine what it means. The fact that I'm broke, I don't have any money, does not mean that that I'm broke, in the sense that I have abundance as long as I have the consciousness of abundance. So the fact that I don't have any money in my pocket doesn't mean I can't have money in my pocket. You see, it doesn't mean I'm a failure. But if I take the fact that I don't have any money in my pocket and then I define that to mean that I'm a failure, well then I haven't used my power in the best way to advance me to where I need to go.
Indeed. Yes. Okay.
All right. So that's the concept. These are the 4 points. So now let's go to the next one, which is name yourself.
Yes.
The next slide. Okay. Who do you say you are? So you and I must name ourselves according to the choice we see of how we see ourselves. Now this is me naming myself. This is not me saying this is how you got to name yourself. I'm just using an example of myself. Yeah. For example, I call myself a divine being and a conscious effort. It is not what others call you that matters, but what matters is what you call yourself and what you answer to. So do we have any comments on this, or what are some things you call yourself?
Ooh, I think I'm still naming.
I know we, as a collective, I turn to the phrase "divine melon love" as me and Delisha.
All right, there you go.
That's something that I tag, that I defined us with, you know, because our love is so powerful and so divine. And when it came together, the stars did some stuff. Let us know that we're watching you. So hence divine melon and love. That's one thing, as a collective. But you know, other than that, I consider myself a cosmic being. I'm a citizen of the cosmos.
Yes. And even the name you named your platform, Connect the Dots. See the power of it? I mean, you know, like you named it. You know, you cropped the essence of it, you know, you put it out there, right?
And try to stick with that.
Yeah. Anyone else have any feedback on, you know, how you name yourself, or anything you want to share about this whole idea of naming yourself? I'm going to talk a little bit more about it, but I wanted to hear what anyone else have any say right off the bat.
Okay, Shamika.
I always have been thinking about how I can identify myself, and I haven't came up with anything as of yet, but I know that it has something to do with bamboo, because you can bend bamboo all you want, but it will never break. So that's me. Like, you can bend me, but I'm not gonna break. So I don't know. I'm still working on that though.
I like that.
Yeah, bamboo warrior princess.
Just put bamboo in it.
I'm gonna say God is bamboo.
Yeah.
Even having that idea, because you see some things. So when I work with people and helping them to develop their mission statement in life, I ask them to think about the 4 L's.
Think about what? Say it again. Think about what, Amadi?
The 4 elements:
4 elements.
fire, water, earth, and air. Now, which one are you most like? Which one do you identify most like?
Wow.
And then you
Wow.
begin to identify with, I'm earth. Am I more earth than I am fire? And so that's kinds of ways you can help to begin to create an idea or a way of identifying yourself according to the elements. But I love the way you identify yourself according to bamboo. That's part of it. And then allow your spirit to just kind of work with that. But in the meantime, you are bamboo.
Yes.
You
I
have
love
the qualities and the power of. Yes.
That was great.
So if I may say something,
Sure.
my actual name is Cecilia. That was my birth name that was given to me. And when I turned 25, was it 20? Yeah, when I turned 25, I decided to go and take refuge in Tibetan Buddhism. And when I did that, my guru renamed me, and I kept my name, which he gave me. I didn't rename myself, but when he gave me that name, it, it was, I felt it. I felt it inside of me. And so identifying myself as a lotus, I feel like it fits me because, when I look at my life, I'm like, yes, like I've been able to come up from my own murkiness of my own mind. Unlike my name, Cecilia, which means the blind one. And I always had, like when I found out what my name meant, and then I looked at my life and I started really like analyzing, I realized how important your name is. It's a mantra. It's a mantra that you're saying constantly over and over and over. And so if your name has a specific definition, yes, you can rename yourself. At the same time, I know that with the name Cecilia, there's just something that was always off for me. And so when like I said, when I received the name, it just felt like that, yeah, that's me, that it felt right. When I named my daughter, when I decided to give her the name, I waited after she was born for a moment just to see what her temperament was like. And I didn't call her name until she asked me to call her name. She knew what her name was because of like the family that would call her, my sisters and all of them. They don't necessarily follow what I do. But when I decided to name her, I would just, call her child, you're my child. And eventually, you know, she's the one that actually chose the name. I gave her a choice, and eventually she looked at all the names that I gave her because I felt like they were positive names, and she chose Shanti, which means peace.
Oh, wow.
And so in some way or form, I literally, when I gathered her name, I did exactly what you said, which was I went through the 4 elements, and I looked at her little temperament. And I looked at her little temperament and I said, okay, if you're fire, this would be your name. If you're water, this would be your name. If you're earth,
Great.
this would be your
Wow.
name. And if you're ether, and I felt like ether was peace. And that's what she chose. And so it's very powerful. And when you do give yourself that name, it changes you completely. It's a very beautiful thing. So that's just what I wanted to share with you guys.
That's so beautiful.
Yes, and I want to interject that. So you don't always have to pick your own name, but you have to embrace it. And so because I didn't pick my name Amadi per se, In other words, I gave assent to it. I said, yes, I accept, I receive it. And so, you can pick when we say we name ourselves, it's because I'm the one who, said yay or nay to it, and then when I said yay to it, then I claimed it, and it was mine, right? Even if someone else named me, even as you were named, by the guru, you had to say yes. And when you say yes, it became, you naming yourself, so to speak.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, right.
You had to,
Yeah.
I had to be in agreement with it. And I
Yeah.
suppose that when we're living from the higher perspective, then our intuitions is a lot higher, and because of that we're able to, I guess, connect with one another and be able to see a little bit deeper than you would naturally be able to see if you weren't following the footsteps of wanting to be more aware of the energies around you. And so, yeah, I think that when, like you said, you have to say yes when you accept a name, because that's your character, it's your personality. It's so much. It defines you in so many ways because it is a mantra, and it's constantly being used. And whatever energy um, was put when that name was given, I believe that partially, depending on what the definition of the name is, it does affect you. In my personal opinion, in some way or form.
I agree with that.
Oh yeah, it
I
does.
agree
It
with that
definitely does.
too.
So I'm gonna reiterate. I'm gonna go a little bit more into this. Now, I put together a handout for everybody, and which is more, like more extensive. So you can, if you're interested in having it, then Alicia will get it to you, or she's going to give me their email, and I'll get it to you. But I want you to know that I'm offering. Yeah, okay. Someone will, but yeah, I gave you that. You have it, right, Ray?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to.
You have it.
I'm gonna see if I can put it in the chat and y'all can pull from it. All right?
There you go. Good. Okay, that'll be perfect. Great.
That's
okay.
what I'll be doing right quick.
Okay. All right. So we're talking about naming ourselves. So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that. So that also relates to not just your specific formal name, but what do you call yourself in other areas, such as I'm a good father, a good mother, a good son, or a good daughter. How do you, I am smart, I am powerful, I am wise, I am intelligent. This is naming yourself as well. And so I want you to just understand that it goes beyond just your formal name. And so a classic ploy that manipulators use is to call you something that they want you to be, or to put you on the defensive by challenging your right to name yourself.
Okay.
And so as it relates to being a divine being, anything that you say about yourself, anything good that you say about yourself is true, because you're a divine being. Your very nature is goodness. And so if you say you're smart, or you say you're intelligent, it's true. Nobody can challenge that. They can say, well, hey, look, how you gonna say you're intelligent? I don't think you're intelligent. But then you have to claim your right to say, no, I'm the one who names myself. So you could say something like this. You could say, because you could say, well, I don't agree. No, no, this is not, I know who I am. I know what a lot of times when we make mistakes, people want to categorize you because you made a mistake. And then they want to marginalize you or condemn you. But you don't want to ever condemn yourself. So you want to, just like based on, some of the experiences you shared with us, Ray, about some of your experiences, you made some mistakes, as been well shared. But that still didn't necessarily mean that was who you are. What
Right.
you do is not who you are. What you do is not who you are. So I just wanted to expand that understanding so people will realize that naming yourself is very important, even in terms of what you call yourself, and what you say about yourself. And so, as it relates to naming yourself, I want you to just understand that it goes beyond just your formal name. And so and in terms of how you respond to what people call you. So any feedback on that, or any thoughts about that? Anyone want to share? I see Sister Aurora's here.
Yeah, I can't see if you got your hands up. Just go ahead. I'm trying to do something. I'm being Oz right now.
Yeah, just unmute your way in. Say on this area of naming yourself in a more expanded way.
Brother Amadi, this
Yes.
is I can really speak a lot on this whole subject, but I'm going to keep it light. I want to share two things quickly. Hi, everybody.
Hey!
Hi. Welcome.
Hey.
When I was living in the Carolinas, everyone, I went to the courthouse to view deeds because I was buying land and property and things like that. Okay, and this was shortly before they microfiched all of those records. And so for my own self, I was able to view the deeds and the records of homes of homeowners who own slaves, and the laws that were attached to why you were called Black, why you were called Negro, and some of the other names due to particular laws that were on the books, that are still on the books, by the way, which is why we have the issues that we still have today, okay? But to see them for myself and understand why people of color have these issues, it really has to do with the things that are written. They are written. And then, like you're saying, they convinced individuals to begin to say these things about themselves. And then they call their children, their grandchildren. Now everybody is harnessing this energy of what they thought, felt, and wrote, passed it on to you. You believed it, received it, and you believe that you are it. That's very, very powerful. I like that about this. But the funny thing that I just thought about, there's a very famous individual that I know personally, and he has a lot of children, and he believes that he can sing. We all know he cannot sing. He will tell you that he's a singer. And one day, I asked his oldest son, I said, how come you don't tell your father that he can't sing? And he said, you cannot tell that man that. You will get thrown out of the house. And if anybody who works here tell him that he cannot sing, they will be fired. Because he believes he can sing. And if he comes in here and says, I am a singer and I'm about to start playing this guitar and singing for you, you better sit down and listen.
Sit down and listen.
So it's very, very real that whatever you're saying about yourself, you harness that energy and believe it. No one can tell you anything different. And the moment they try, like my brother said, you will be fired. So thank you, Brother Amadi. Also, I want to know about all them shoes back there. How many shoes?
I was counting them too. I start counting.
I put them all up there.
Shoemaster.
I got some white ones there.
I see them.
Yeah. So you got to be very careful about what you call yourself and what you answer to. And so, as I was saying, anything good that you say about yourself is true in potential, because you are identifying with your divine nature, and therefore you're calling out that goodness out. So sometimes nobody else can't see it, but it's inside of you. And sometimes when you declare it, you actually calling it out. And just for, if you know, I don't know if many of you, it's before many of your time, but I remember Bob Dylan. He couldn't really sing, but he was very, he was very popular. I don't think James Brown could really sing that well.
No.
But he, very popular, sold out all his concerts because he brought something else to the table. So, everybody has a song. We all have a song, and we're supposed to sing it. And so,
I'm gonna say name that tune, but
but I have to just say that I have one thing that I wanted to share. And I don't want to get all personal putting Ray's business out there, but
My goodness.
because he's been known to be like Houdini, okay? And so I used to save him in my phone as Houdini Ohm, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then one night I was watching some documentary and they were talking about this place called Wasset where there was a lot of war through like the comedian times.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, oh, cool. I said, I'm going to name him Houdini on Wasset. So I changed his name to Houdini on Wasset in the phone, right? And I kid you not, Reverend Amadi, I got to share this with you guys on the phone too. It seemed like every time he started calling me, him and I would get into a fight. And I told him, I gave him this name. I said, I'm taking Wasset off. I said, ever since I put that on there, me and you end up in an argument every time we get on this phone, right?
Uh-huh.
And so I took Wasset down. So now I call him Cosmic Ray of Light.
Yeah.
But she didn't tell you all the story, but yeah.
I know, I was just trying to chop it
I
and
know.
make it short. But I just had to just say that because, you know, it really was happening.
Yeah.
Like we would get into it. And I was like, oh, Waset's coming down. I had to break that down. So the naming and what something means, even in times we may not know what it really means, but it does carry weight and power. Like my name, Delisha, is Latin and it means delight and pleasure or Eden. So
and
I
she
like
is that
the name.
to me.
Well, thank you.
She is that.
You know, but in my middle name, LaShawn, I don't know if that has any meaning at all. And maybe that's why there's some gaps. So no, I'm really serious, you know. And then, you know, Smith being a locksmith, a blacksmith, you know, is a skilled craftsman, craftsman person, and that I carry that. But now I had to let Smith go and really become Lewis. So something is changing in me as Delisha Lewis. So I just wanted to add that.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there is a mystical stuff going on.
Well, you know, I already have a famous name, but that's not what I really want.
Yeah.
Hemingway is definitely a famous name.
Yeah.
As a young woman, I was called Cool Breeze because they said I was so smooth when I walked, looked like I was gliding when I was younger.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And my avatar is Lady Venus 9, which I think I like a lot, but I want to find something more in depth for myself because I'm very loving and I love with my whole heart. So I might do something with air because I'm an air sign and with love in it. So I'm working on it.
You know, can I just say something? You know what's so beautiful about what's going on right now? Reverend Amadi is going over some things that's been around for ancients, for long as we can remember, right? And all this stuff. Maybe some of us was taught some of this, but I'm gonna say I wasn't. You know, I started learning until I got older. But the thing, what I want to say is that all this stuff is inside of us because we're doing it anyway. And all it is somebody coming up and giving you confirmation. Hey, yeah, that's what that is. I be doing that all the time. You know, so
gave all my children annual meetings, so that's a good thing. I'm glad I did that.
So we are some divine beings here.
Yeah.
Yes, right. And so, yes, it's definitely, the name is nature. And if you'll notice, like the Bible or a lot of times in spiritual literature, when a person transforms, a lot of times they get a new name because that name, their nature has changed somewhat. And so now they get a new name. And so in ancient Kemet, they had a lot of different names. So you don't mean that you have to give up your old name, but many of us have more than one name. I know I do, and so be aware of that as well, that sometimes when you transform and as you transform and you evolve, you'll find that, you'll be a different name. Just to kind of reflect this other level that you are right now. So that's another thing about the power of names.
I'm thinking about renaming myself now. I've been thinking
really
about that for the past say about 2 years. I've been thinking about renaming myself. The simple. I like my name, Raymond Harold Lewis. Is great. I did numerology on it. It's great. But something internal It's like, you know, it's time for you to rename yourself. And I remember at Crash a couple times, I wanted to go to a renaming ceremony, and things didn't happen. You know how it is. You like in and out, in and out. But I'm in the end, I really feel that I may change my name. I may change my name.
Yeah.
I don't know which way I'm gonna go with it, but I feel that I need to, because I feel like I'm taking on a title. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yeah. When I became, conscious, when I became like conscious African, I knew I had to change my name. I just, that's just me. But again, it's like sovereignty, making your choices of what works for you. And what works for one person doesn't have to. But, if you feel that energy, then go with it. That's the way I feel, So, but I want to finish this part out by just saying, so that separate who you are from what you do. We all make mistakes. That does not take away from our divine essence or nature. Now, this is from a metaphysical perspective. But some Christians, Jewish, Muslims, maybe they may not feel that they want to say that they're divine beings. So I would say, you can say you're a child of God. Just say you're a child of God. And that's where your divinity comes. But whatever it takes, operate from that place of divinity is what I'm saying. It's easy for us metaphysicians, not to say we're divine beings, but for some people it is a challenge. And so for those people, I say, then just you can probably embrace the fact that you're a child of God. And as a child of God, now you are a divine being. So I just want to throw that in there, because it's really all about a message that's universal for everybody.
Yes.
And so any more comments on the naming, and then I'm gonna go into defining, and I'm gonna pick up the pace a little bit.
Okay, I have one line I want to say that came to me as I'm writing down email addresses. This is, you are sovereign and divine by design. And I want to say that that's the way of naming yourself. I am sovereign and divine by design. And that's I say. I am sovereign and divine by design.
Oh, also, I like to add that I did put the PDF in the chat. So I believe, y'all see if y'all can download it.
Nope.
I downloaded mine already.
Oh, you did? Okay, so you did. It can be downloaded. So this is what Reverend Amadi was talking about. So
yeah, the handle.
I want everybody to have it.
Okay, Vicky, can you see it, the PDF?
It's in the chat room.
Okay, because she said she couldn't see it. That's why I was asking.
I can't see it. All I did was drop my email address. So.
Okay, I got it.
Okay,
we'll get it to you. One way or another, you'll get it.
Thank you, sugar.
Okay, so now we get into defining ourselves.
Okay.
By defining ourselves, I mean that we say what it means. What does my name mean? What does what I call myself mean? And so for my specific example, when I call myself a divine being, who's a conscious African, so when I say I'm a divine being, I'm saying that I walk in my spiritual power, looking to the spirit within for my answers, and that I have unlimited potential. So that's what I mean when I say I'm a divine being, because you got to know what you mean by the way you describe yourself. This is what it means. So being a divine being for me means that I can look within and find my answers. I don't have to look outside of myself. It's all in there. All I got to just go in there. Maybe got to go a little deeper than I thought I did, but it's there. And so that's what being a divine being means to me. And then being a conscious African just means that I embrace my African cultural roots and the ways of my ancestors, and I walk in my spiritual, and that I express excellence in what I do. So you just gotta have a clear understanding of what you mean by what you say, is what I mean by defining yourself. Because if you don't define yourself, other people will.
They will.
So I'm gonna go a little bit. So I'm gonna go a little. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna go a little bit into this more for a minute, and then I'm open it up for comments. So, okay, so to define yourself means that you determine the definition and meaning of the things that you say about yourself. For example, I just said, as far as what that means. So say you said that you were intelligent.
Right.
Then you might say, well, when I say I'm intelligent, I mean that I can figure out the answers that I'm looking for. And if I don't have the answer, I know how to find it or attract it or wherever it takes to get it. So in other words, I've set a definition for that. And so understand that you have the, capacity to do whatever you need to do to get where you're trying to go. It doesn't mean that you are in denial about your shortcomings or non-strengths, but it means that you understand that you have unlimited potential and you define yourself in ways that advance your interests and do not hinder your progress in life. Your ability to define yourself allows you to adopt the attitude of a winner or a hero in life. And so I want to make this point, open it up for comments. So a sovereign person understands how to operate in their own best interests. A person who is not sovereign will be carrying out somebody else's agenda. They'll be putting all their energy into somebody else's agenda. But when you're sovereign, you're able to understand, well, what is advancing my interests? And you make choices that support your interests, your dreams, your desires, your inner guidance. So is that making sense?
Yeah, indeed it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. Cause I'm listening and I'm seeing. Okay, what resonated with me so much is the part when you said that you could be giving your power to some other alternative means when you could be doing it for yourself. In other words, like you're going to work for somebody, making somebody else rich, and you're going home with a full up back and a little bit of money. Instead of when you can get up every day and work for yourself in something that you love to do, that you wouldn't even consider work. You're just getting paid just to do something you love to do. And I want to hold that thought process in my heart and mind because I want to bring that to all of us. I want to bring that thought process to all of us. And what that thought process is, we will begin to make financial money, cash, by doing something that we love to do. So we're not going to consider it work. We're just going to get paid for doing something we love to do. I want that to come to everybody on this call. Some way or another. That's my prayer to everyone. Myself and everyone.
Any other thoughts? Any other thoughts about what was just said about kindness?
I do. Hey, so one thing that I'm working on and that I've actually realized for myself is the way we want the external to work for us. It can only work for us if you are pleasant with yourself. And what I mean with that, being pleasant with yourself, is nobody else is inside of you. You're it. Like, you're the one. And if you don't have good things to say inside, it's like this. It's like we can externally torture someone and they have a chance to get away. We can internally torture ourselves and we can't get away. So to some extent, I feel like if you're just pleasant within yourself, like we're talking about defining ourselves with positive words, if we can get into the habit of constantly having that pleasantness in our mind, then who isn't going to want to be around you? Who isn't going to want to love you? Who isn't going to want to like put you into their group and be like, work with us? And I think that's what it, for me at least, I realized that if you are just pleasant with yourself, constantly telling yourself you're good and you're loved and I love you and yeah, you can do better. And if you're constantly constantly saying those things to yourself, then automatically this pleasantness arises in you that is already in there. It's a natural pleasantness that has nothing to do with anybody else, which is, I think that's a key point here, which is don't take in anything from the external and
Yes.
try to make it you, right? Because that's what we're constantly trying to do as human beings. We're constantly trying to gather information from outside and put it in us and say, this is me. But you're already complete. There's nothing incomplete about us. And because we are, so because we are complete inside, pretty much whatever happens inside stays inside. When you're angry, it's inside of you. It's not outside. When you're happy, it's inside of you. It's not outside. And so I see it as if you could just be pleasant with yourself on an everyday basis, then everything else will just fall into that automatically.
All I gotta say is, Lotus, give you some love.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That statement right there resonates just like this 432 frequency.
Thank you.
My
Thank
heart,
you.
that was powerful. I like what you said about taking things on the outside and trying to claim that is us, right?
Yeah.
That is me.
That's powerful.
You know, that's
Yeah.
powerful. And that's just the same that the flip side is that, hey, I'm cool. I got a nice Lexus out there.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing. You know, people putting their status on what they got and what they have. Same thing. That car made me cool. No, I make that car cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I love that.
There you go.
Love that.
Okay, any other comments about this idea of defining yourself? About the idea of not defining yourself in ways that don't support where you're trying to go?
Exactly.
I got one more, and I'm gonna leave it at that. This I'm gonna say this. This redefining ourselves is one of the first things that we was talking about in the empowerment course with Siddiqui. One of the first things that we went over was redefining things. You know, taking our power back and defining and naming things. You know, this is powerful stuff what you're saying. It's, you know, and I'm glad I got this. I'm glad I'm here.
Yeah.
Glad I'm getting this.
May I just add one more thing to this?
Of course.
I think when it comes to personal stories, especially stories that we've lived through, especially the ones that have affected us negatively, I think that a lot of us, we do carry those stories with us, and we seem to fall on them when similar situations come across. And what I realize is if you can change those stories too, to your own liking, that's also like really helpful. Like I have, everybody has stories, whether it's a childhood story, whether it's a, teenage story, whatever story that in some way or another impacted them in a negative manner, and they hold that with them for years on end. I know I have. And eventually at some point you have to redefine that story as well. For example, if you've had a bad relationship with someone in the family and you're constantly thinking about how bad this relationship is, that right there is could be what's blocking you. So redefining that story, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to go and be, lovey-dovey with this person that hurt you. But if you redefine the story in your head, that's it. That's the key. If you could redefine that story in your mind, in your thought process, and then the brain will automatically begin to process that as reality. And so the more you do that, especially with hurtful situations that anyone has gone through, if you could redefine that story in your head of how you wanted it to end up, how did you want that story to be? If you had a bad relationship with mom and you remember all the things mom did, redefine that. Instead of her being mean to you, redefine it from the perspective of she was good to me and she was loving and and then all of a sudden you have a whole brand new story. And the way the mind works, it automatically will believe it. Why? Because like you said, we're divine, and only that which is good, the mind will be able to encompass and fill it up. So that's another little thought that I just had.
Ashe, gonna give you some love for that, Sister Lotus. We got another question coming from Vicky.
Okay, on what you just said, Miss Lotus, you get
Yes.
to rewrite your life. You get to rewrite your story. You get to rewrite your life, and you get to rewrite your stories.
Yes.
And that is empowering in itself, because you will start to manifest those relationships with other people. It might not be the person or the situation that you thought it was, but you will start to create that new life based on that new story.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
basically, it's showing your administrative power as a creator, as a demigod.
Yes. Yes.
Well, we
That's
got
right.
one more. Got another question coming from Shamika. Shamika, have a question?
Sorry, I was talking on mute. Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. Like, I'm hearing you guys say, like, redefine your stories and you can rewrite your stories and stuff like that. And sometimes, I remember, I don't know if you remember, Uncle, but I wrote you a poem when you first came back out here from Houston. I wrote you a
Yeah,
poem, and I
I
was
remember.
trying to write what I wanted to write, what I just wanted to say, and it didn't come out that way. My spirit was writing something completely different, and it was like more harsh, but with love. You know what I mean? Like it. Do you remember? It
I
was
remember.
kind of like
I can't remember the poem, but
it
I
was.
remember.
It was. I don't want to say harsh, but it was like more like tough love type of
Yeah.
poem.
Yeah.
And my mind, I'm trying to say, oh, I missed you, and da 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 da, you know, just regular poem like that, and it did not work. It would not come out. And so what I wanted to say about that is sometimes other people can say something to you or write something to you or about you, and if you're in agreement with that, it's like a reminder of who you are, who you can be, things like that. So it doesn't necessarily, like, you can weave all that together, what you write, what you think, what other people say that's positive to you, and all of that can be intertwined together to define you as well. Am I correct? I don't know. That just came to my mind.
Okay, let me just make it clear. Know what you're saying. Okay, you're speaking about when I first came back in 2000, right? And you did write a poem, and it was a hard poem because back in 2000, it wasn't me who you see before you. It was somebody else. I was on some other stuff, and yeah, it was a hard poem. Telling me basically get your shit straight. We love you, this and that. I remember that, but I can't remember the words. Now, what were you asking me about that poem? I do remember it.
I wasn't asking anything. I was just making a comment as to what other people were saying on the call, and
Oh,
rewriting
by
your
defining
story,
something.
rethinking certain situations to make them better for your inner self and things like that. And I was just saying that you can also intertwine that with the positive affirmations and things like that that other people have given you as well.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yes. Y'all get what you're talking about? In other
Yeah.
words, she's saying is that on top of I'm redefining myself being this cosmic being, and I'm working myself in this way. That's power. Also, as well, what someone else says about me. Oh yeah, he did this and did that. Oh, he did. All those is accumulation of who I am. Is that correct, Shamika?
Yeah, yeah, that's what I was saying. Like it can all just be put together
Yeah.
into one story.
Into a collage, like.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. Yeah, that is, and actually that's where we're going next. So let's move to the next slide because that's talking about story. That's talking about the very thing
Tell
that
your
your
story.
story. Yeah, tell your story. And I want to just say that as it relates to defining yourself and telling your own story, not only do we want to redefine ourselves, but sometimes we want to reinvent ourselves. And and all of us, so sometimes there's the time to, like, if things aren't moving like we want, then we also have the ability to reinvent ourselves and just to say, okay, I'm gonna go back into my laboratory and come out with something else, right? And you reinvent yourself.
Right.
I've done that several times in my life.
Yeah.
And it really blows people's mind because I'm free from the past. And what I said yesterday is not today. And so if I learn something new today, that I may change my whole story because I'm informed by what where I'm at today. And so sometimes you have to let go of all what you used to be. In other words, you don't have to live up to any type of precedence. Just because you did one thing at one stage in your life don't mean you got to keep doing it. And so people sometimes they try to paint you into a box based on what you used to do. And hey, look, I'm not that person no more.
I'm giving you, man, that's my story.
That's
That is my
everybody's story.
There you go. So you reinvented yourself, and
I can
we all
say
have that capacity.
a lot of people may experience that. I would say everyone here experienced that because why people was used to you being in this way, but when you switched up and started thinking for yourself, doing for yourself, they forget they don't want to see that, they want the old you back. And I don't even think, and I really don't even think they do that in malice anything. I really think that it's done because you're moving and they're stagnant and they no come back to how it was, because you're moving, you're developing. You at a point that you can look back in life and say, yeah, I used to do that. I don't even think like that no more. I'm thinking like this now. But it's a good possibility. When I was thinking like that, I was thinking like that because all of y'all was thinking like that. And then when I realized something and I said, I'm going to move, you moved up or we moved up. They still there wherever they at. And, not saying it's bad or good, but I'm just saying your conscious shift to get you from back there to up here. Not saying that back there is a bad spot or anything. It's just that some people mindset is just still there. And I have that trouble a lot. I'm gonna say it with my sister. For some reason, I'm still a damn 14-year-old kid or something.
But it's important but as long as you don't accept that story,
No,
as long as you don't accept that definition, then it doesn't have power.
And
it really doesn't have power over you.
And I don't. And check this out. Here's the thing. Here, I today I had an incident. I gotta open up on this one because I'm gonna need help with this. Okay, I'm in a position of leadership, teaching and doing these things, and I come across people with some real funny dispositions. And an individual is just hey, hold on, it's not like that. Wait a minute, try like this. Oh, I'm gonna hang up on him. Right? I hung up on him. And I had to really look at that. I'm like, I'm protecting myself because at this point, this person is acting like a vampire, draining me from my energy and my intention when I'm here to do something that I'm trying to do, but yet they still want to pull me back and say, hey, listen, I have to do this. Let me get back. Hey, so I hangs up and I had to think about that. Was I wrong for doing that? If I'm supposed to be somebody who's trying to show people betterness and and how to heal himself. And yeah, I'm gonna say this. Damn right, I hung up on her. Why? Because I'm protecting myself. Why? Because I feel that wherever that individual is at, you're not taking me back there, but with all this, you know, and why should I sit there and listen to it? It's not me, right? Why should I listen to that when I know it's not me and I can't even say, hey, you got me misunderstood. So I hangs up, you know, and I felt kind of conflicted about that, you know, until me and Delisa talked about it. And she said, I don't blame you. When she said that, I felt better. Because I felt better because I didn't want to be the only one who felt like shit, fuck that shit, hang up on her. You know, because it you know, it was something that shouldn't have never been done. You know, that the energetic thing. And I feel that it was draining me. It was tapping into my source when I was geared to do something else, you know. And how do y'all feel about that? You think that I felt that I was trying to protect myself. Oh, indeed, this person thought this about the situation, but it wasn't that. And I did everything I could to say it's not that. But they didn't want to hear that. They just want to hear what they were saying.
Self-preservation is key.
Say it again.
Self-preservation is key.
Well,
Self-preservation.
what I would say is the story that you would be, so your story would be, I hung up on her, although that was not what my first choice was, but I felt that I had to hang up on her for self-preservation, but I still, you know, send her love and like, you know, something like that. That's the
what
story.
I've done.
And there's the story, right? And so now another person might, see, that's why I say you have to tell your own story. Because another person might say, well, see, look at what you did, Ray. You were very vicious and mean. You hung up on me out of pure spite. You just didn't want to hear what I had to say, right? That's her. But see, you don't, but see, that's why I say you tell your own story. No, that is not, it happened like this. Yes, I did hang up on you, but I hung up on you not to hurt you, but to preserve myself. And I just really couldn't, you know, it was draining me, and I felt I needed to do it. That's a whole different tone. See, that's a different story. That's why we have to tell our own story. That's a real excellent example for us.
Self-preservation gets some love.
Well, my aunt says we can defend ourselves. We have a right to defend ourselves. Indeed. You know, we were tricked, I think, somehow, you know, with the European form of Christianity.
Yeah.
They try to make us think. They try to make us think we don't have a right to defend ourselves, but we have a right to defend ourselves. You know, that's the way of nature. But the Taoists say this. This is what the Taoists say. They say, if I have to resort to violence, I should cry because somehow I failed. And so, in other words, violence as a last resort, you know, not that I would choose it, but sometimes we are in those situations and we do what we have to do. You know, we wouldn't choose it, right? So that's how I mean. Please.
Okay, I hear we had two people online. Okay. T-Roo, we ain't heard from you, so I'm gonna let you go first, and then Lotus, you up next.
Okay. And
was that you, T-Roo, who said you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I'm trying to talk my thing. I keep going in and out, so I don't know. Can y'all hear me good?
Yeah, real good.
Oh yeah, I was listening the whole time. I just want to say, yeah, you know, I'm kind of violent now. I'm pretty angry. You know, I'm kind of angry all the time. Y'all know how I'm kind of am. I'm antisocial, but I love people. I just like dealing with people, you know, on my own terms. So I don't mind kicking people, and I don't mind, you know, hanging up on people because I know. I might have to.
Let me give some love for being real. Yes, sir. Go ahead,
I love you, but I will punch you. You know, I love you enough to punch you, right? The love punch, right?
Yeah, wake up.
Right. I'll let you know what time it is, right? Yeah. Hopefully, you know, you knock some sense into them and let them know, you know. Right. I'm not trying to hurt you, but I will, right?
You sound like my stepfather. I'm gonna knock some sense into your ass.
You know, sometimes you can't talk to people. You know that I learned that. You know, sometimes you can't talk to everybody. Some people, you know, once you start punching on them and shit, they start
get it.
realizing. Yeah, they get it.
Seriously, they get it because I know that. Yeah, they get it. They be
Once
like,
you hang
oh,
up on
run.
them,
As soon as you
once
start
you hang
dwelling,
up
oh,
on
I get it, I get it, I get it.
Right, right. Yeah, I done seen it happen a lot of times.
Yeah, I've seen
I
that
tell
happen.
people, hey, let me hurt him. You know, let me punch him. They're like, oh no, don't do that. Hey, sometimes you can't talk to people. They don't understand that. That's not their language. You gotta speak to them in their language. I know how to communicate with my hands, right? These hands.
Sister Lotus, you like to give it? You want to chime in?
Yes, actually, I wanted to sort of go back with and say that when it comes to protecting yourself, um, there was a monk who asked Buddha, I guess, you know, in one of the stories that they tell, and the Buddha said, the monk said, Buddha, I don't understand this whole concept because we're taught to, number one, respect our own life, and we're also taught to respect others. What do I do when someone is trying to take away my life, knowing everything that I know and knowing how precious life is? And Buddha said, he said, everybody's life is precious. Yet, if you need to defend yours, your life is not less precious simply because you think that you're going to deal with certain pressures in life. But your life is as important as the other. Therefore, you defend it by all means. And if that's what you need to do to defend whatever energy you got going for yourself, that's what needs to be done. And there is no feeling, you shouldn't feel bad or anything about it. It just simply is, you know. Your energy is yours. And when it comes down to that, you defend it. And that's just what I wanted to say.
Ashe, I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
Thank you.
Hebrew and
Can I
Lotus.
say something?
Yes.
I just was stuck on the question, was I wrong for doing that? And we say that all the time. I think that we need to stop doing that to ourselves because, for one, if we're wrong, there would be no question. We would know that, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be a question. You know when you're wrong. When you say, was I wrong? If you have to say that, if you have to pose that question, then you wasn't wrong. That's how I feel about it. You wasn't wrong. Because you know, when you're wrong about something, you know without a shadow of a doubt, I was wrong for that.
Yeah. Also, Shamika, what you're saying is basically awareness, consciousness. That's being harmonious, really. Because if you're aware and you asking yourself, "Am I wrong for doing that?" You are divine. You got a conscience. You're not just going around doing stuff just to do it and see what happens. So yeah, that's powerful right there. And I think we should always question ourselves, ask ourselves questions. And you call me crazy one too. I talk to myself at times. Sometimes you get the best advice from myself. And if I bump my head, I did it. This one did it. Not no one else told me. And you know, so if you see me talking to myself, leave me alone. I'm getting some good advice.
That's all right. Okay, well, let me read this part here about tell your story. We must tell our own story. Now, this is a scenario that I tell because you see, before I say this, I want to talk about the power of myth. And what myth is, you know, a myth is something that's true. I'll just kind of put it like this. A myth is a story that a group tells to empower itself, to move it forward, okay? All the details aren't always necessarily factually true, but they're based on a spiritual truth principle.
Right.
And so this is a narrative that I came up with for African people. to counter the narrative that we've grown up under of our inadequacy and our inferiority. So this is the narrative, but again, we're telling our own story. So African people were the first people. They were the initiators of civilization as we know it. I and people who look like me are rising up into leadership roles in the world. We are ascending. This is our time in history, and we will prove it by the results that we produce. So that's my story. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
I'm with. That's my story. I'm thinking to that too.
Yeah.
I like that story.
So yeah. So understand as Lotus was sharing, we had started kind of getting into this area previously, and Vicky and Lotus, the power of the narrative that we project, and we have the very power, as Vicky said, to sort of redefine our life, and actually we can change the past. We can change the past by redefining it and creating a different story about it. And the reason why I say that is because we change the past because the past is no longer spilling into the present and the future. When we redefine it in a way that doesn't hold us back, but allows us to move forward. So we actually, so I say, we actually can change the past, because I'm not, by saying, instead of saying, well, I'm a victim or a survivor, you could just say, that's okay, but you could just, define it in a way that allows you to know that, I'm not just a survivor, I'm a champion. I'm moving forward. I'm a winner in life. I'm not just a survivor, and I move forward. I take everything that happened to me to build upon, to create the glorious future that I'm stepping into, and ain't nobody holding me back, especially not that. And now you released it, you reconciled it. We have to reconcile the past often, and sometimes we do that through forgiveness. We do that through giving thanks, like, letting somebody know, I appreciate what you did. Thank you, Mom. You raised us, and you put your love into me, and you instilled me with certain, principles, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you. Or, we apologize. I made a mistake, and I want to acknowledge that. I plan to move forward and not do that again. Or like I said, we forgive. I forgive you for that. You did the best you could with what you had to work with. And I feel that this even goes into the ancestor realm. And I think we need to reconcile the past of our ancestors, our generational lines, and look back with appreciation, but because they survived so that we could survive. So we would be here today with the freedom to create a whole new kind of world. They sacrificed, and forgive them for the mistakes and their shortcomings, and just move forward. So it's all about the narrative. So I just wanted to say that. Anyone have any comments based on the power of narrative and telling your own story?
Yeah, I'm in total agreement with you, and I want to give you some love on it.
You deserved it.
Okay, well, let me tell you a little bit more about telling your story. So telling your own story involves taking charge of the narrative regarding your story. For example, because see, a lot of people use narrative as a way of manipulation. A person may impart motives on your actions that reflect their perspective, but not yours. So like what I was saying, what we're saying about you, Ray, in that case, you could say something like this: I do not agree with what you said. I know what I did, what I intended to do, and why. My intentions were honorable. Or you could say something like this: the fact that I made a mistake does not make me a criminal. Manipulators try to get you to buy into false narrative. Then they can frame the story based on what serves their interests.
Oh, man.
This is about framing, okay? If you buy into the original assumption, you have already lost. For example, and I'm going to give you an example of a famous debate between Dr. Shockley and Dr. Frances Cress Wellesley regarding Black inferiority.
Okay.
So Dr. Shockley made the statement that obviously Black children have to be less intelligent than white children since they consistently score lower on IQ tests. So it's obvious that they're less that they're less intelligent. But Dr. Francis Cress Welsing challenged the validity of the European or Eurocentric IQ tests, which are culturally biased.
Yes.
And she cited the developmental evidence that in fact Black children exhibit more intelligence at an earlier age than white children.
Yes.
And so in other words,
Bingo.
she did not accept the frame or the assumption that if Black children scored lower on IQ tests, they must be less intelligent. And so this can also happen when someone says something like this to you. If you love me, you would do this. To prove your love, then you might do what they want you to do. This is manipulation based on what could be false framing of a question. So I just want you guys to understand that you got to really tune into when people are talking to you, the frame that they're putting you in.
Yes.
And so sometimes these frames are an assumption. And so when you even answer it, you already lost. So I just wanted to interject the, this is part of how people manipulate you when so you can't accept the frame. Don't accept the original assumption if it's not necessarily true. All right, feedback?
I love it.
Yes, Amadi, we got 2 hands up. We had Sheila and Vicky. Let's go with Vicky first.
All right. What you were talking about, the framework, it's also they set up a false container of safetyness to project the potential manipulation of the framework that they want you to fall into. Mm-hmm. They create a container to make you feel a certain way, where if you say or if you agree or don't agree, you already have fell into the trap.
Yeah.
So you gotta be aware. You gotta be aware of the container and the frame, because they use the environment, or situation, or circumstance, an argument, a viewpoint, a political stance, a movement. They use anything to manipulate.
Mm-hmm. To get you. So that's like being in the wrong place at the wrong time, or just you got to be aware of where you are. And sometimes you can't even allow yourself to go certain places, because going to certain places already puts you in jeopardy.
I want to say 3 words to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say 3 words to that, Vicky, and then Shamika, you're next. Problem, reaction, solution. The Hegelian dialect. That's that whole narrative and framework which I'm speaking about. They think of they already they already know what they want to do. They just got to make a situation to make you go in that direction. That's that framework. When they asking you certain questions about.
Right, there you go. That's what they do. Right.
Right. It's problem, reaction, solution. That's what it's a Hegelian dialect, and that's what that is to me. I see that, and I compare that with Hegelian dialect. When you frame it in a narrative of things, just to get a means or to get whatever you got to get, it's the same thing with problem, reaction, solution, the Hegelian dialect. They already have an idea of set what they want to do. Now they got to get the people to move in a certain way so they can make laws and principles so they can do that. Problem, reaction, solution. Shamika?
My hand was up from previously.
Oh, I'm sorry. Anybody else?
I guess that's obvious.
You tired of being afraid?
I'm tired of being framed.
hey.
Yeah, afraid, right? You're afraid.
Open them eyes up, man, and see what they doing. This is a good lesson right here, because it makes you expand your horizon and see what you're getting into.
Yes.
And what do you agree to? See, that's the point.
What you agree to?
Even no matter what people do to you, you remember Mandela, he was in prison for 10 years, but they never could get him to, they said, if you'll withdraw if you'll promise to not use violence, we will free you. But he was saying, well, wait a minute, you guys are using violence against me. So how you gonna get me to, why do I have to pledge not to defend myself, and you don't have to pledge not to attack me? You see, and so he refused it. He never agreed to it, and finally they had to let him go because he never said uncle. You know, he never said, okay, I agree. And so just realize the power of your word of saying, I will not go along with that story. No, that is not my story. This is my story. I'll tell you the story. And so the very energy of you never agreeing to this falsehood and this framing that they did to you, brother, is powerful. And as long as you it holds a level of power that, you know, that really can't be denied.
Okay. Some love on that one, brother Money.
All right, so let's tell your story. So that's pretty self-evident. So let's go to the next slide, which is the last pillar, the last element of the four pillars, which is managing your emotions, because you've got to have self-control. So I'm going to read this. And finally, we must manage our emotions. This is all about mental sovereignty. Remember, emotions come from thoughts. So we got to manage our emotions. Joyful living can only come through disciplined living. You know, discipline really is the way, the road to freedom is through discipline. There is no room in the business arena for emotionalism. Now, I didn't say emotions, because we can have emotions, but we don't need to be caught up in emotionalism. If you observe and acknowledge your emotions without judgment and keep breathing, this is my technique. They will shift. All emotions will pass after 90 seconds. I learned that when I was working in the prisons and we were doing work with the inmates, and we were helping them to learn how to not get triggered and how to deal with, you know, how to not get into altercations that would prolong their sentence and things like that. And so then I was working with this group of psychologists, and they were saying that all emotions pass after 90 seconds. The key is to not react immediately. After 90 seconds, choose a measured response instead of a reaction. Okay, does that make sense? Or
yes.
what do you guys think about that?
Thebomb.com. That's thebomb.com.
Delisha, you on mute because I hear you trying to talk.
I want to say that I agree with that, and you know, and just that is the whole point. And I'm not only just in telling, I want to say telling your side of the story about what happened on every level, whether it's historical, whether it's personal,
yeah,
the case may be. But you know, just in relation to what Ray was talking about, the incident that he had occurred, that was the point. Was that a lot of times people know how to push buttons that are triggers. You mentioned a key word, which was trigger, working with people so that way other things wouldn't lead to other things. And I think because so many of us have so much love in our heart and we really want to be a blessing, we want to be friends, we want to be all these different things, a lot of times people make it very difficult for you to manage your emotions. And what I'm learning now in this particular cycle of my life is that before even making, I'm going to say, agreements or associations with certain people, I think we should take more time to get to know them before we start downpouring or outpouring our essence of who we are. Because a lot of times they'll use those very things against us. And it's like, oh, you're supposed to be a spiritual person and you're supposed to be a person helping people. You're not supposed to have emotions. You're not supposed to get angry and upset, you know, and they'll try to frame you in that word. They say, oh, well, she's talking all this spiritual stuff. Oh man, you got to see that other side, you know. And it's like, no, but emotions are real. So I appreciate this part right here because it's a real thing. And even if it's just hurt feelings, you know, and a person may not know that their feelings were hurt by you, you know. But I love this about taking this 90 seconds because you still might cut up, but it'll be a better cut up than a cut out.
Well, we take a deep breath.
So no, it's so real. Like it's so real. And I know, Minister Amadi, I know when I spoken with you yesterday, I was telling you what I think happens a lot when people come into the circle or into the fold of the business at hand or the group at hand. They come with all these mixed emotions and brokenness that have nothing to do with you. Things get triggered in them, something that you said or how somebody looked at them, and it could be very valid. But I think that a lot of times we're tangled up in an emotional mess of circles of people that we need to heal. So I just want to and in that, then it's like she's telling the story this way, he's telling the story that way, and it's not about whose story is right or wrong, but being really honest with yourself and learning from that situation and how to do it different so that to be in control of emotions.
May I say something?
Please.
Yes.
Share your wisdom with us.
Thank you. So when it comes to thoughts, thoughts cannot harm you unless you're the one putting a definition on those thoughts. So if a thought comes to you, let's say, she doesn't like me. That's all it is. It's just a thought. That's it. It has no value whatsoever. It has literally, that's all it is. It's, she doesn't like me. Now, what you put into that thought, that's up to you.
Right.
Whatever energy you put into that thought, your emotions, and that, I think that's what it is that when we have a thought, we put emotion into it, and then all of a sudden, this thought becomes this. It becomes
a strong feeling. It becomes a strong feeling.
It does. It does. And so, if we're able to some extent, when we have time to be alone and just go through every thought, I look at my thoughts as passengers. Do I want this thought to enter my temple?
I like that.
Mm-hmm. And it takes a lot of practice because so many thoughts come. In 5 minutes, you can have over 50, 100 thoughts. Imagine how many emotions you have coming with every single one of those thoughts. So every time, whenever you have a chance, at least this is what I do. If I find myself being, pulled in a negative direction, I'll take some time by myself, and then I'll go through every thought that's going in my head, and I'll have a conversation with that thought. So for example, let's say it's a negative thought of, let's say someone said, I don't like you. Let's just say that. And so you have that thought in your head, and then you want to just, expand it by saying, well, why doesn't this person like me? Why, like we want to make a big deal out of something that this person said in our own head, rather than just be like, oh, that's okay. Like, that's just the way that person feels. Move on. But what we wanted, right? So every thought that we have, we seem to want to add a definition to it. And I think the moment we start taking away definitions from our thoughts, and we stop defining our thoughts as whether they belong to us or they belong to them, then I think that we can literally take ourselves away from it and build a small gap between the thoughts and emotions. And now you're just the observer of those things. You're no longer involved in it. You're no longer part of it, but you're simply observing them as a movie. And that's, at least for me, that was part of my practice that I do.
I think it's beautiful what you're saying, and it's definitely, a higher perspective on that, because a lot. I want to say that everybody's emotions are real. They're valid, whether they're about or not. They're still.
Welcome aboard.
I love that.
More the merrier.
Yes.
Please,
welcome.
He's taking my screen time.
That's okay.
Oh, I didn't see what it was.
He's right.
Oh, that's Marco. I can't
What's
see.
up, man?
I'm in the back being odd, so I don't see who's on there. I'm just working the slide. What's up, homie? I see you Friday.
Yeah, man. I got bless.
Sorry, guys, you butted in.
No, it's all good.
That was a good interruption.
Hey, let me give you some love on that one.
Yeah.
Look,
Look, Lotus, it wasn't an emotional pull. Get off the phone.
Exactly.
Come on in.
Exactly.
Thank you for that. I just want to
Yes.
say managing the emotions, I think, is one of the top pillars in this, because we carry so many different feelings. Even if it's, like I said, even if it's about your history or who you are or relationships that you have with yourself, your friends, your family. So I'm really grateful for this one, because this has been a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I
It cannot
find
be
that,
ignored.
and like she was saying, observing. So this is what I find. This is what I do, you know, and I'm really appreciate what you share with us, Lotus, because I'm going to try that too. You know,
Yeah.
that's why we're connecting the dots, so we can use
That's
all of our
Right.
understanding, you know, to advance each other.
Listen,
So if you observe and acknowledge your emotions without judgment and keep breathing, they will shift. That's what I found out. And that works with all emotions. You might, you know, you might feel ashamed, you might feel angry, you might feel embarrassed, and you know, you might be feeling pretty bad about certain things. But if you just observe them, because this is my theory about emotions, and the purpose of your emotions and your feelings is to empower your word. And so if you just acknowledge them and be present to them, then they give you their gift. And their gift is the energy, and so that when you speak your word, the power of your emotions can push it into manifestation. So if you know how to channel that energy, be present to the emotion, but not judge it as good or bad, then now you're going to receive the gift of the emotion, which is empowerment behind your word. So that makes you a much more powerful co-creator of your experience. So I just wanted to share that idea as
I love it. Thank you.
well. Any other comments? I'm going to kind of move on to the next one then.
Reverend Money.
Mhm.
I like to say this.
Oh, please, yes.
Something I was researching today about antiquity and about monarchy civilizations. You know, ran by women, and it was an old culture, right? And it was ran. The culture is ran by a circle of women, treating and guiding humanity as their daughters and their sons. And that type of hierarchy or democracy, you can say, or a political structure was very flourishable because the circle of women dealt with nature, emotion, connection, and treated every man and woman as a daughter and as a son. And in this lecture that this guy was giving, he was saying that this happened over hundred thousands of years, but it was still happening in different pockets of the world. But when it was first started and it started branching off, that was the society that was great. But what made it fall down was like one of the ice ages or the flood, because they had to think of a whole different way of taking care of people. Like when the ice age came, they had to start acquisition, and whatever, and that so it had to be another form of society. But like right now, I really do feel that that's coming back, because I'm looking at this call. We got over 5 powerful women here, and I consider them the circle of women, right? And they're taking care of humanity as daughters and sons. And I think we got the same 5 men and 5 women, I believe, something like that. And I see us as the man counterparts of the divine feminine. Is we're sitting here and connecting the dots, right? And we as men is going out there and creating that. What we're sitting here with the women and us, the men, we're talking about our situation, about our new reality, how we're going to do, how we're going to see it, how it's going to be, and then we go out there and create that. We got the handwork, the hammers and chisels and things, but it's the same thing as our spirit animate from inside out. Okay. Now the woman is the inside, is the spirit. The masculine energy is the outside, is the man that's out here creating the house for the spirit to dwell in. So I really feel that this is what's happening like right now. I I wouldn't be surprised. I start seeing a lot of powerful women coming into power, coming into the power structure, and basically trying to change that structure. And that's all I want to say. I just feel that that the circle of women is being revived right here.
Oh man, we're moving into the age of Aquarius.
That is there.
But that's the water bearer, right?
Right.
But actually, our ancestors, it was really Aquaria. It's not Aquarius, it's Aquaria. Mami Wata, or when you see those mermaids and things, that's Mami Wata. That's they also call her, what's this, another one?
Yamiya.
Yamiya, right, Yamiya. And so we're really moving into her age. And it's her influence, it's her feminine influence. And so you're right on. I've seen the same thing, brother, is what I'm saying. I've seen the same thing.
Well, we on the right track.
Yeah.
Wow. It can only go back to what it used to be.
Yes, right.
Correct.
And then I feel like we're getting an opportunity to see this shift and experience it.
And experience the shift. Be co-creating with the shift.
Right, because women are going to do it different than the men, in the sense that, like you said, they're looking at the other women as could be their daughters, and the guys as could be their son. So they're looking at everybody like with a connection. That could be my son. That could be my daughter. And just another quick little note. So when they had this was when they had the thing, when they had the riots in LA, when the white guy, I forgot his name, but anyway, they had a riot.
And the truck.
He was on Vermont and 78th, and they beat him up or something like that.
Right down the street, yeah.
And so they had, remember they had those riots, right? So they found out, they did a study, and they found out that the women police officers, when they engaged, their first instinct was to de-escalate. The men police officers, they were more like, they pump it up more, end up shooting somebody. But the women, they just had a whole different way of looking at things, and they brought a whole different energy, because their energy is to de-escalate, to, because they're looking at the connection.
They're the mothers of the world.
Yeah, that's right.
The mothers, I'm going to say this, the mothers are the people making machines, so the mother's got to be the true and natural teacher.
Yeah.
The father is the sustainer, the provider, or however role that deems fit that the father does.
Right, and African thought, African indigenous teaching is feminine oriented.
Mm-hmm.
And that isn't that men are, that isn't that the men are, it's the idea that the man can rule only with the permission of the woman. And the woman, she has her role, and and she has her own role, and the man has his role, and and so the woman is not against the man. She wants him to flourish in his role, and the man has to respect her and know that a lot of stuff ain't happening until she says yes.
May I add?
Yeah.
May I add? That's funny.
Go ahead, Lola.
Where I come from in Bolivia, my ancestors, the Aymara people, when the ritual that they do during the crop time, especially when they're farming, is they plow the land, the men plow the land, and it's the women, they give the women the seeds for them to plant it, because according to the men, they say that it's only the woman that can give life to what it is that they're putting into the earth. And so in the culture that I grew up in, I had that upbringing where we worshipped. I remember clearly when I was about probably 5 years old, we have a lot of festivities in my country where we celebrate goddesses. And the one goddess that I remember very clearly is she was black. She was like what you would call like the Virgin Mary, but she was Black, and this was in a small little town where my father grew up. But that's who they worshipped, and that's what I learned. And so in growing up, I learned the whole idea of how woman is the one that does the planting, because she's the one that talks life into the earth, and the man is there to plow the land, so and protect the land, so she's able to do that. And
Yeah.
so I was very lucky and fortunate to have had some type of culture that is that deep. But that's the way I remember that, talking to also shamans, saying that, yeah, women are the ones who in the end will step up to the ball game, and will definitely create that huge circle, the heartbeat of the mother, the drum beat. And so I think that we are coming to that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I got to give some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
really beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. So going on, got a couple more slides left. So the next two slides are elements of nature, because basically what we want to become, when I talk about us being gods over our experience, is that we want to be forces of nature in our own right. In other words, you're a force of nature to be reckoned with in the world. And so first image we have is of the mountain, something heavy and strong. Allows you to so mental sovereignty allows you to operate as a heavyweight in the world, bringing substance to your interaction. And so part of what gives us that substance, though, I want to say, is that is what Ray has been doing, teaching us these spiritual practices, these breathing techniques, deep meditation work is helping us to become having more substance or spiritual weight and power, so that we can operate as empowered people in the world. And so I want to say we want to operate as forces of nature in our own right. A person of substance who carries weight, you don't want to be a lightweight in the world. You carry substance when you live in the principles of Ma'at and use spiritual principles to co-create your life conditions. Operating in the world as a force of nature involves carrying a certain attitude with you. Wherever you go, you're not worried about what other people do. You focus on what you do. You have come to an understanding that all things will work together for your good as long as you stay in principle. This is operating as a heavyweight in the world, and so I have a metaphor of it. I remember Muhammad Ali. He used to talk about what it was to be a heavyweight fighter. And he says, we're in our own world. We're like dinosaurs. He says, we're like dinosaurs. He says, where we walk, the earth trembles. We shake up the world. And so this is a metaphor for where I want us to kind of think about, that where we walk, we shake up the world, because we carry substance. We're powerful people who have claimed their power, who understand ourselves to be powerful. And so that's the image of the mountain that I wanted to convey as part of being a force of nature.
Wow.
So let's go to the next one, and then I'm gonna take some comments on being a force of nature. So there's another element of a force of nature, like a hurricane or a tornado. And part of this is this knowing that you carry force. I have a way of saying it: claim your power and walk in it.
Yes.
And walk in your power. And so and so part of it is the reason why I talk about mental sovereignty. Through your self-acceptance, you will gain acceptance in the world. This is what is meant by gravitas, the ability to be comfortable in your own skin. And so when you operate with mental sovereignty, by naming yourself, defining yourself, telling your own story, and managing your emotions. Now go to the next slide.
Oh,
You become influential and you draw people into your orbit. You begin to operate as a living sun.
Come on
You're
now.
a living sun in the world.
Yes, that's
Gotta
beautiful.
give you some, Amadi.
Yes.
Breaking this down to the science.
Yes. And so what happened is that we cannot help but have influence, but we want to have positive influence. And so we are ultimately here to be living suns that project a positive influence that draws people into our orbit as the planets of the solar system revolve around the sun. You will find people coming into your orbit because you are strong and steady in the principles of what you stand for. And people are looking for that. And so you become a force in the world of stability, of sustenance, of empowerment, but not just a force, but a force for good. And that's the whole point. So at that point, I'm ready now to take any more last comments, as that was that was kind of like that was the main points I wanted to see. The end result of having mental sovereignty is that you become a living sun.
Wow.
So any comments?
I can testify to that.
Okay.
I know that the moment I changed, I know that the moment I ascended, I remember that moment. And when that occurred, I met all of you guys. Like it was just such a beautiful, it's as if I woke up one morning and I was like, yeah, this is me. Like I'm home.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I met all of you guys. I met Ray and I met Delicia and I met like all the people in the drum circle, and especially Delicia and Ray, you too. Especially Delicia. I'm sorry, I have to. I'm gonna put it down. So yes, I do feel like the moment I shifted my consciousness and I shifted certain things about my life, certain people entered my life that brought me to this right here where I'm speaking with all of you guys. And definitely the moment you do that shift, it takes everything and it's like people fall off of you. You don't even have to push them away. You don't even have to shove them away. You don't even have to say no. The moment you make that change, the moment you reinvent yourself, like you said, the moment that happens and you literally are 100% behind that, people will fall off. You don't even have to push them off because they can't handle that. And anyone who can handle all that new energy is going to come forth. And that's what happened to me. So I just wanted to say to Ray and Alicia, thank you. I love you guys.
Oh, I love you.
You're blessed.
Love you, really.
All of y'all are.
Yes.
This, Brother
This
Money,
is so divine.
there was very powerful presentation. It's great. I can't wait to upload all these videos that I've been doing and stirring. I'm gonna get a YouTube channel, and before I upload them, I want to ask y'all: is it okay?
It's okay with
because
me.
It's all a learning tool, right? And hopefully, we be the core, and we bring in some more, powerful people who know things and want to share with things, and we are the ones who gonna enact it. I know I have to. I have nothing else to do but to see this world in a beautiful light. I'm talking about this new technology, new healing, communicating with higher beings. I'm way out there. I feel and see that, and I want to be there. So I can't stop. Won't stop. Don't stop.
Ain't nothing stopping us now.
Yeah, that's the theme song. Ain't no stopping us now. We're on the move. And that's not just me and Delicia. That's all of our theme songs.
Yeah. And there's no stopping us now.
This presentation right here that you gave really is, I say, to some of us, we probably was practicing these things And to
Yes,
some
of
of us,
course.
we was practicing these things and didn't know we was until somebody said something about it. Said, wait a minute, that sounds like something I'll be doing because it's already in us. And it
Yeah.
just need us to come together and to that's all it needs for us to come together, talk about these things, and with consciousness and with electromagnetic energy and light, it's a wave. But when we think about something and say that I'm going to be a powerful person, somewhere in the ether, the electromagnetic waves come together and make that proton. And that proton or that atom is the beginning of bringing that to you. So, however you feel, that's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. And I feel that we are part of a group of people around the world that's changing the world by living real life dynamic action and co-creating our way. That is that's the only way I feel. Because I'm not waiting on somebody to do shit for me. I how can I do this? Show me how to, but I don't want you to do it. I learned that in some of my spiritual training, that when people just give these spiritual knowledge to people without them working for it, it goes away because they didn't get that epiphany. They didn't get that, oh, I did that. I'm going to hold on to that for a long
That's
time.
right. That's right.
So, just got to be careful. Just give the people information, let them work it out and do it. And when they come to it, come on in. Let's start creating. Start creating. I really appreciate you, Amadi. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, no, my pleasure. And,
Oh,
I just feel that, like what happens is a lot of times is that you draw the people into your life that you need at this time. That's what I kind of feel like happened with me connecting with you guys too, Delisha and Ray. It was just like all of a sudden we reconnected after we had been, we had been together, operating together, kind of going out of each other's orbit, right? Now we come back into each other's orbit, right?
Yeah.
Because there's great work to be done. There's great work to be done, and now's the time for us to do that. And so one other thing is that social scientists have told us that you don't need 50% of a population to change it. You need 2%. You need 2%.
Yeah.
And if you can get 2% of a core people, a core group, 2%, you can transform that group. So we don't need to worry about who ain't on board. We don't have to worry about who's on board. Those of us that's on board, let's come together, do what we do, and create some exponential growth factors. And we'll change the world.
Ashe.
Oh my gosh, Ashe.
Come on. I know y'all got some burning things to say. Come on out. I know y'all got it.
It's just this. I just the only thing that I want to share is this. First of all, Minister Amadi, thank you, and I thank everybody that's here. And I know that the whole concept of mental sovereignty I had not even contemplated, although I've practiced it in certain ways. Yes. I think we all have, but now with a conscious and a conscious choice and making certain decisions to change, to alter that into as far as it can go, in this plane, in this cycle of my life, our life, I'm really grateful because I won't even look at life the same anymore, to be honest with you. So I just wanted to say thank you. I really got so much from this. And the last thing that I want to say is this, for now, is that I had pulled a couple of cards from my Nature Speak Oracle since we've been talking. And the message that came up was this. And I want to share it if it's okay with everybody because it's very relevant. It says here, to keep things simple and add new growth based on the old growth. This is what will create real opportunities and success for you. Keep things simple and keep stretching out a little at a time. Plenty of opportunities are about as long as you keep things simple. Hold on one second. And it says we can take advantage of as many of them as possible. You have laid a good root system. Now build upon it.
You gotta keep some love on that one.
Nice.
That's very relevant.
Love it.
Very relevant. And that's exactly what we're doing.
I was shocked. I was like, okay, I'm going to share this at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Any more
Thank you.
questions? Because before we go, I really do want to do a meditation, and I haven't came up with one to do right now, but I have some in my head. But I want to ask anybody want to ask some more questions? Wow, I think of how
I want to just say one thing. I want to thank you, Delisha, for all those wonderful images
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff that you came up with. She did the whole PowerPoint for me. I just gave her the concept, and she put it together for me. So thank you. I
You are
appreciate
so welcome. That was a pleasure. I had fun.
it. Mm-hmm.
That was great. Let me see. Anybody like to share meditation? The quick 3-minute meditation, anything.
Okay, I
What?
have one. Oh,
Wait,
Wait, T-Roo, you going to share? Come on, T-Roo. I would like
yeah,
to get one.
go for it.
I was just gonna say, I like it. Y'all was a good meeting. Good meeting, y'all. Y'all-
Indeed, bro, T-Roo.
Thank
Well, we're gonna turn it over to Lotus.
Oh,
She's gonna lead us in the meditation.
Yeah.
okay.
Take us out.
Okay. So, one meditation that I learned and I really enjoyed doing, and it's somewhat it's so the concept of it is to realize that we are not the body and we are not the mind. So in this meditation, it's what you would say to yourself is, I am not the body, I am not the mind. And why do we want to do the meditation behind this is to practically place a gap between yourself and your body and your mind, because once you place a gap between those two, you're actually able to become more of the observer than the actual doer in your thoughts. And so we can do you want to do a 3-minute meditation or like a 1-minute meditation?
Let's go 3.
Okay, so what I'll do is with each inhale, you'll say, I am not the body. And with each exhale, you'll say, I am not the mind. And what we can do is, you guys could do it on your own, or I can say that you guys, as you breathe, I'll say, we can all start breathing together. And then I'll say, okay, so I'll do that. So, okay, so let's, everybody, if you could.
What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna mute everyone because every time when we try to do something like this, sound it's kind of funny.
Okay.
So I'm gonna ask everybody if you could you mute yourself? Okay. Yeah, I muted everyone. Everyone is muted already. So if you want to make a comment, if you want to make a comment, you would just when we unmute, you come in. Let me see. I'm trying to unmute you.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. So everybody's unmuted. Okay, everybody close your eyes and inhale a breath and exhale. Inhale a breath. Feel the belly rise as you do this. And exhale. And now as you inhale a breath, you will say to yourself, or I will say it, I am not the mind. And exhale, I am not the body.
I am not the body.
Inhale a breath. I am not the mind. Exhale the breath. I am not the body.
I am not the body.
Inhale. I am not the mind. Exhale. I am not the body. Inhale, I am not the mind. Exhale, I am not the body. Inhale, I am not the mind. Exhale, I am not the body. Inhale, I am not the mind. Exhale, I am not the body. Inhale, I am not the mind. Exhale, I am not the body. Inhale, I am not the mind.
I am not the body.
Exhale, I am not the body. Inhale, I am not the mind.
I am not the body. I am not.
Exhale, I am not the body. Just a few more times, take a nice deep breath. Inhale, I am not the mind. Exhale, I am not the body. Inhale, I am not the mind. Exhale, I am not the body. Inhale, I'm not the mind. Exhale, I am not the body. Taking a long, deep breath. Good. Feel the breath come all the way from the belly, extended, and as you release, allow the belly to just fall down back into its place. Relax your shoulders. And a nice, long, deep breath. And exhale. With a nice, long, deep breath one more time. Inhale. And exhale. One last time. Inhale. And exhale. Take a deep breath and allow yourself to ground yourself with the idea that you are everything and you are nothing. And because of that, you are perfect. Last deep breath, inhale and exhale. Slowly open back come back and open your eyes. And usually I like to end any meditation practice by just dedicating it to all sentient beings. May our meditation just benefit every being on earth, in the universe, in the galaxy. Ashe.
Hey, everyone can unmute themselves. Let me see. I think I got it. I did something wrong. Okay, there you go. Now, you can unmute yourself. Am I right? Try it. Okay.
No.
Yeah.
Okay, there you back. Okay, you're back. You're back. Oh man. I know I don't want to be first, but I know I did experience some. I noticed I experienced really beingness. It was like this. I had two orbs, my mind orb, my body orb, and I was everything outside. I was not the mind, I was not the body, I was just beingness. And
Yes.
and at the end, I was my heart. I see my heart. I was. It's a meditation I learned by smiling at your heart and see your heart smiling back at you. Normally I sit my mind to do that. This time it just popped in. Ma was smiling at me, so I smiled back at her. It was great. I like that meditation.
Yes.
I'm not the body,
Me
I'm not
too.
the mind. Please, anyone have anything else to share?
Uh, you know, I like when you do the meditate, when you do the every time I do that, I always get a good laugh. Every time. It never fails. I get a good laugh.
Joy is the key. The
That's right.
meditation is a high vibration.
Miss,
Yeah, I love it.
the meditation triggered the heart shot, the heart sutra for me.
Okay. Your heart chakra.
Yeah, the heart chakra and the heart sutra for the
Com-
taras,
compassion.
and the bodhisattvas. I saw
Okay.
all the I went to Buddha
Passion
land.
being.
Yeah,
Nice.
I went to Buddha land. You know, I
You
don't
went
want to
to the
be.
deities. That's where you went to. You went to see the Taras and the
Yeah, I
medicine
went to go see
Buddha.
the. Yeah, I went over
Yeah,
there.
that's
I had
right.
fun.
That's
Thank
right.
you, thank you,
That's
thank
right.
you.
Thank
I
you.
needed that
Thank
medicine.
you.
Thank you.
The Western
Oh,
Pure Land.
That's so beautiful.
Thank
That's
you
so
so much,
beautiful.
Lotus.
Infinite Life Sutra.
It was very relaxing for me. And when you said, I'm everything and I'm nothing, something like that. Did you say
mm-hmm.
something like that? I'm
Yes, I
everything and
did.
I'm nothing. That really kind of really struck me. It just like, in my spirit just said, you're all of it. And,
Mm-hmm.
and when you allow yourself to be nothing, you can be more of who you are.
Complete
Because you don't
expansion.
because you don't have to be something. You can be whoever you are, whatever I am, is okay.
It's okay.
That's right.
That's what kind of came to me when you said that. It was like, there will be times when it will seem like, maybe I'm a fool, and other times I'm a wise man. I'm both, right?
Yeah, right.
I'm a fool and a wise man.
We're
And it's
I love
okay
it.
because I allow myself to be a fool. I can be a wise man too. So anyway, that's just kind of what you
That's
said there.
beautiful.
I like that.
It's complete expansion.
Okay.
It's complete expansion. It's complete when I what you just said when you said I'm everything and I'm nothing, and that's something that you felt your expansion. You felt that the moment we label ourselves,
Yes.
that's it. Forget it. We boxed ourselves in.
Right.
The moment you say I'm this or I'm that, um, if it's positive, you haven't boxed yourself in because positivity is endless.
Yeah.
But the moment you use a negative connotation towards yourself, like we were talking about this whole time, the moment you use a negative connotations can only take you so far.
Right.
They'll only take you so far, but anything that is positive will expand you and constantly keep you getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because that's the purpose. At least for me, it's the purpose for being alive, is to completely expand ourselves into everything and to dive into this thing called life. Most of us were so afraid to dive in fully. I mean, fully dive in, experience the good, the bad, all of it completely.
That's it.
Because when you do that, that's the medicine. When you do that, you can now literally not be afraid, because you're like, you know what? There's nothing really to be afraid of.
That's it. There you go.
Exactly.
Wow, that's really powerful. And I want to just say that I definitely expanded in myself, because I felt like all of a sudden I really let go in that moment of saying I'm
Yes.
everything and I'm nothing, and I'm not the mind, I'm not the body. And I'll say in that I really let go. And I was also say that I've had an extreme headache throughout this whole call, and I felt like there was tension that was relieved from my body. So
Beautiful.
I'm really grateful. And it was so beautiful, your voice and, just those words. It really opened up another door, and I'm really grateful. So thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you.
I would like to say that I felt like a vessel that was filling up with positive energy and expelling
Mhm.
negative energy. and I just felt like I was going through a floating sensation the whole time. And your voice is very, it's very pleasant. So
Yeah.
I think
Thank
you
you.
should be a meditation guru.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me do this. I appreciate it.
We're connecting the dots in the moment, every moment.
Yes.
And this platform is for all of us.
Yeah.
You know, it just so happened I open up a Zoom, but it's really all of us. You know, it's really all of us. And besides, all of y'all have a Zoom account. Y'all can do the same thing.
That's
Invite
right.
me. I'll come. Indeed, I'll be there. Indeed.
Yes.
I see that we have Goddess Bamboo on the call.
Goddess Bamboo
Goddess
is in the
Bamboo.
house.
She can bend with it. Cross the tiger, hidden dragon, huh?
Bamboo is here. Bamboo is
Like
here.
that. Goddess Bamboo.
Yes. Goddess Bamboo is bad, y'all. I'm telling you. Goddess Bamboo. And she right. She will not be broken at all. You're not going to do that. Not to Goddess Bamboo. I know that personally. That's my baby. I love her. But she made me say, I said, okay, I ain't gonna never, if I'm out with Shamika, I know I'm gonna always be all right because that shit ain't going down. You know, I will say this, I know we're leaving. I just have to share this other card that I had pulled when I pulled the first one. I gotta read it because it's so relevant to close this conversation. And it's following your, or I should say, telling your story is not easy. We must change how we think and act. We sometimes must make some sacrifices. Do you fear failure? Do you fear success? If you don't move, don't step, and don't act, you become stuck repeating the present. Do something different. Do something fun. It will clear the path so that the opportunities will again flow your way. Ashe.
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 Ashe. Peace and love, baby.
Yay.
Let's do this.
Hey, before we go, I want to share something. You know, just this is just a concept, but you know, I've just been motored over my head today. High vibration. When a person is high vibration, they vibrating towards a future that they're creating because they're high vibration.
Wow.
People with low vibration, they vibrating their past, where they've been, things that happened to them. That's seems like that's the order of it. Because if you're low vibration, most low vibration people is always thinking about something that happened back then, either to themselves or to someone else in the past.
Yep.
The high vibration. I know everybody who I consider who I met as high vibration, they looking forward to the future. They want something to happen. They waiting. They not waiting. They're making something happen. They are part of this creation story. You know. So I just want to say that to next from now to next Thursday. So just keep that in your head. You know, see it in situations that if a person vibrating high, or they see if they're aspiring towards future events. And if you see someone with a low vibration, if they're aspiring to past events or stuck in the past, it's just something to think about. Because when I heard about it, when I heard a young brother Tiki talking about it, I had to think about that. I said, that's a good way of looking at it. Low vibration, vibrating to the past. High vibration, vibrating to the future harmoniously and creating. You know, just something I want to think about. And
So real. I never thought about that. That's
I think I really do think that that I said the concept of a circle of women, and I'm not just saying that because I grew up in a family full of women, or I'm in love with a beautiful woman. I'm saying that because throughout my
I
meditation and
knew it.
my
I
practice,
knew it. Y'all just messing.
in my studies that if everything, okay, I'm gonna say this. Everyone try to get the book or anything about the Emerald Tablets. They talk about 7 universal principles. It's the 7 principles of Lord Tahuti or Tho. It's mentalism, correspondence, vibration. All these 7 principles is the laws of the universe, and those principles are within us. And by those principles being within us, our attention, our focus sends that out there and brings that to us. So, yeah, this world is literally changing for the better. For the better.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, before we close out, anybody like to say any last things?
If anyone is looking for the Book of Emerald Tablets, I have a copy of it. So if you guys, huh?
Which one you have?
Believe it or not, the one that I acquired, it was my master yoga teacher that gave it to me. And he had made copy out of the original. One of the books that it was, I believe it's in the Manly PH Hall Library.
Oh,
and
okay.
They allowed him to make a copy of it, and he passed it down to me when he passed away. So I have a copy of that. I don't know if you guys want to make a copy of it or anything like that.
Like to. I would like
Yeah.
to. We can go to the copy machine and run some copies of that.
Yeah,
I can copy it at work.
Okay.
Oh, you might be able to get it online. I think it's online actually.
The Manatee Hall version?
The Emerald Tablets is online, but I'm not sure what version.
That's what I was asking. Who written it and where it's by? Because there's many of them. There's many translations.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So let me.
Yeah, I can make copies of it. Lotus, when I see you, I can copy it at work.
Okay, so I'm thinking I'll probably be, I don't know if you guys are going to be down there drum circling on Friday, tomorrow afternoon, right? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to show up with Marcos and I'll bring it. And I'll let you guys make a copy of it, Alicia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it.
And
that's a blessing.
I continue making copies if anybody wants some.
Yes.
I'll
is it the Emerald Tablets of Thought?
Yes.
Yes. Now, as I was saying, there are many versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they read a little different, but they basically kind of somewhat say the same. And I'm just kind of curious about hers because she said her teacher gave her to this, and this came from the Manipur Hall Library, which is I studied a lot of stuff about Manipur. Matter of fact, I got his book, got a couple of his books, and I would like to see what he said about it because I read two kinds.
Okay.
I'll make a copy and I'll scan it so we have it, and I can email it to you, Lotus. So if you ever want to share it, you can have a scanned copy.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. Yes, that sounds great.
Brother Ray.
Yes.
This is Vicky.
Hey,
are we still going to do the book study on the Billy Carson book?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Did you got your book?
I got my book, man. You want me to go get it?
Okay, everybody. No. Everybody got that book. We can start doing that now. Where's mine at?
Yeah, look behind you.
Mine's is in my purse. I'm gonna go get it.
Okay, now
it should be on your desk.
No, it's not.
Mine is in my purse. I'll be right back.
All right. Well, mine is on my book.
If anybody got it, get it and show the picture of it.
I have a picture of it, but it's from my photos.
But anyway, Billy Carson got a compendium of the Emerald Tablets that and I've been following Billy pretty strong lately, and I like the way he talk in his interview. It's great. And being that he written a book on the Emerald Tablets, and which that I have read, several times. Well, I read it completely twice in 2 different books, and I'm reading it again. Yeah, 3 times.
I guess my question is you know, is there anyone else on here? I know, Vicky, you have your book, and I know, Lotus, you have a copy of one, but is anyone willing to get a copy of the Billy Carson version so we can actually talk about it?
I'm trying to find mine.
What?
Billy Carson, the book
His
on
version of it. Yeah, so we'll be on the same page, you know?
Yeah, that'd be good. A book study would be great.
Y'all could just put me out. I'm a pretty fast learner, so y'all could just run me through it. I done read a lot of books. I don't mind reading books, but y'all could probably catch me up pretty fast. I done read plenty of books. I done read Chinese books, books. What's that? The 48 Laws of Power. I done read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
You name it, I done read it. I did a class on business. I did a class on psychology. I did a class on generaltology. So I'm well learned, and like I said, I'm a natural student. So I call myself a professional student.
This is the book, y'all.
All right.
It's on Amazon. It's only $15.
What does the small print say at the bottom of tablet?
His name is Billy Carson. That's his name, Billy Carson.
I see your picture, Tamika. I'll send it to you in a text message.
Okay. You see what I put in the chat?
Yes, the version that you have, which is not wrong. It's just there's different ones.
Okay.
What? I didn't see nothing in the chat.
Oh, if you're looking at, she wrote that the version of the Emerald
Oh,
Tablet.
okay, yeah. Yeah, Thoth. Well, yeah, this is Thoth, this guy, the Iblis. He's the Iblis god, also known as Hermes Trismegistus, Quetzalcoatl. Everybody, Buddha was a rendition of Lord Tahuti. Anybody who was speaking about knowledge of self and wisdom and ascending, past things. There wasn't everybody wasn't speaking it, but a lot of people who came across the world through the millennium time who was speaking about ascending and leaving this realm and from a matter to a light realm. That was a reference of Lord Thoth, because he's the one who he goes through the halls of Memento and rejuvenate himself, and somehow in Emerald Tablets that he can change his consciousness out of one body into another body, live for over thousands of years. Now, the funny thing of it is, though, why I'm just talking about this so much is that they've been talking about this quantum physics and space and everything in the Emerald Tablets, and this is over 30-some thousand years ago. And we're just now accepting it. And to me, it don't make no sense because, it's coming from Africa. People don't want to accept it. That just don't make no sense to me. So, my duty here is to help melanated beings get past this so they can help themselves.
Ashe. Well, I'm going to be leaving, you guys. It was wonderful. Thank you so much for the privilege. And I look forward to next week.
Yeah. Brother Amadi. Have a good night.
Right.
Thank you.
All right. Good night. Take care.
All right. Good night, everybody. Love y'all. Thanks for coming through.
Love you.
Participating in your ideas, your wisdom is great.
Everything.
Good night, y'all.
Love you.
All right. Good
Bye.
night.